right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Weekly Spinner Rack. I'm your host, Chris from Comic Tropes, and it is going to be a huge, fun show tonight. This is going to be one of those rare good ones that you're going to want to record on your VCR. This goes out to all of my audience who's in their late 60s and above, which I found is more than 50% of my audience. I'm kidding there. No, this is a show all about comic books. News, reviews, interviews, we've got it all. Everything on the rhyming scheme there that you can imagine. Obviously, some big books from the companies came out, like, Superman, Spider-Man. I've got some thoughts and opinions once we get there. Before that, we'll do a bunch of news. I'll also, at the end, be drawing and giving you sort of a behind-the-scenes update on a flood that I've gone through. There is a link in the description for a GoFundMe. We'll also have an interview with some incredible guests with one of the newest Image comics that's coming out this week, The Royals. Before I get to that, I am just going to briefly share with you the opening monologue. This is purely to amuse me, but here we go. So, you may have heard this. Marvel and DC have released the first issue of their Spider-Man, Superman crossover. That's true, of course. Fans have been arguing online about who would win in a fight. And the publishers are arguing about who can print the most variant covers. There's a delay and a polite laugh. I think that's a good way to do it. What else? Comic fans spent the entire week this week also on social media, or maybe I'm just on social media too much. I'll have to look into that. They were arguing over whether Omni-Man from Invincible has a red and white costume or a red and blue costume. Fans started pulling screenshots, comic panels, lighting comparisons. At this point, I think it's fair to argue that comic fandom has more forensic experience than Kash Patel's FBI. A little laugh. I'll take it. I will take it. And finally, Disney, as well as, of course, Marvel, who they own, pulled out of the OpenAI deal that was going to let users make realistic videos based on Marvel characters. Yeah, Disney, the same company that turned animated lions into slightly more realistic lions, took a look at the AI slop and said, hey, let's not get weird. Okay, you guys dealt with that. Thank you very much. I just have fun with that. Good news. It is time for an interview. Enough with all this silliness.
We better talk.
We need to talk.
Talk to me. I'm talking to you.
Talk.
Keep him talking.
Let's talk.
Let's talk.
Start talking. Good talk.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And please give a very kind welcome, maybe even a double salute, to my guests, writer Derek Kirk Kim and artist Jacob Perez. Gentlemen, thank you for your time tonight.
Hey, Tropes Nation.
I appreciate that. Very, very nice.
Double salute.
Double salute.
To
So,
all. Yeah.
It is not an April Fool's joke. You guys have a new comic coming out this Wednesday, The Royals, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Indeed. And not only is it a new comic, it's Jacob's first comic ever.
Is that true?
Yep.
Jacob,
Yep.
I'd heard that you did some work with Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles before. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was on the character design team for that.
The animated show.
Right.
Not the
Yeah.
comic. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So you guys both worked in the animated fields. I guess I'm curious, is that how you guys met, or how did you ever meet in the first place?
You want to go?
No, just kidding. No, we actually didn't meet in animation. Shockingly, I wish we had. Jacob, that would have been so awesome if we had been working on a show before. But we were just fans of each other. We were just following each other on Instagram, and when I got a chance to, or when I was looking for artists for the story, Jacob was one of the first people that came to mind because. First off, I love his art. I loved his Instagram, but specifically, he had this like mobster drawings. There was like a scene, like a torture, like Chris, you've read a little further ahead. You'll know there's like a sort of an interrogation scene,
Right.
Jacob had a scene he had already drawn that was very similar to that, and that like really rang a bell to him being a perfect fit for the story. And oh my gosh, was I ever right? So,
Jacob, was there any nerves then in terms of like jumping from design and animation into doing sequential storytelling?
Yeah, I had never done like full finalized sequential stuff. I'd messed around with it and stuff, done some storyboard stuff. But when Derek DM'd me on Instagram and sent me my post that that interrogation drawing that he was talking about,
Yeah.
he's like, "Hey, I have a 200 plus page graphic novel. Do you want to illustrate it?" Luckily, I didn't have anything going on at the time, and I jumped on it. I was like, "What the heck? Why not? Why not jump in the deep end?" So, and yeah, here we are now.
It's crazy, man. Like when people ask me, like people starting out, my first advice is always to do something short first. And Jacob, literally, his first comic was like a 212-page story, and like just knocked it out of the park. I was just blown away. I'm not just saying that.
And I have talked on the show before about enjoying, Derek, your last comic that you wrote and draw, The Last Mermaid. This time, you were writing. There's a new artist coming in. And you were kind enough to send me the first 2 issues. And you get nervous. Like, you always want to be honest with your audience and with your friends and stuff. And I'm going like, boy, who knows? I'll tell my audience right now, because this is true. I loved it. I've read just the first 2 issues, and it's a great blend of action, drama, definitely some authentic humor, not like wacky humor. It seemed to me that you were definitely trying to make this all come from character work. Is that accurate, or is that just what I'm getting?
Definitely. It's very character based. It's basically about the love-hate relationship between 2 brothers. That's kind of at the heart of all the relationship, and where most of the humor comes from as well. So yeah, but I mean, there are some like fun, wacky stuff like in action sequences and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
which just Jacob was so great at doing. Yeah, I think you're totally right, Chris. Yeah.
By issue 2, folks, there's like a sort of a prolonged fight and chase sequence, and I believe you were telling me, Derek, that you sort of just told Jacob, and now an action scene. Is that more or less accurate?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna repeat it for the audience, but like I literally typed in my script, the greatest fight sequence happens here, and then Jacob literally pulled it off. Like I was blown away. At least to me.
Yeah,
it's a lot of responsibility. Actually, did you like that freedom, Jacob, or was that just like terrifying, or both?
I think it depended on the day when I was working on it. Like some days it was fun, other days not so much. But yeah, it was that scene like in issue 2 was pretty fun, because I just had, aside from the one note you gave me about a specific prop that had to be used. I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but yeah, you said just do whatever, and I had several pages I think to play around with. So it was fun transitioning from like a car chase scene to a street fight scene, and just planning out the choreography in my head. Because if you look at the panels line up pretty well. Like the actions flow, and they're not, I tried to make them non-random. So it's like moment by moment panels a lot of the time in that.
Go ahead, Derek.
Oh, I was just gonna say one thing. I think comic readers might find kind of unique in the action here is that Jacob really paces out like very specific actions. Like a lot of comics with action in it, it's mostly like punching, and then like there's an explosion, and then characters just fly off, and you kind of imagine what they're doing, like flying off or getting punched. But in Royals, it's very specific. Like he specifically gets like punched in the knee, and what does that do? Like stuff like that. Like Jacob just really like made it so that it really flows. I mean, to use a lame word for comics, but very cinematically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a fair descriptor, though. But we should probably reset slightly and just tell people a little bit what is the Royals that's coming out this Wednesday. And I'm just going to show here and there a little bit of art to give it context. But how would you describe this to people?
Jacob, you want to go or should I go?
Hey, go for it. Go for it. You wrote it.
Well, you wrote it with me. Jacob contributed a lot to the story.
Okay.
There's actually in the near the very end, there was a very specific finale. Maybe when we come back next time, we can talk about it. But I think Jacob really actually enhanced the ending, and it's something I didn't quite see because sometimes you're so close to it, you don't really notice. And Jacob really enhanced the writing and the ending. But anyway, it's about two twin brothers who are telepathically connected, and they use this this power to con poker games. And then, and as you know, these kinds of things, things get out of control. They actually finally get caught doing this scam. So when the story opens, they've been kind of riding high, like they've been doing the scam for a while. And then this story kind of shows what happens when they actually get found out. Yes, it's the fan, you know, yeah. Oh, it's called Royals, not the Royals. Sorry, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. People would figure it out if they were in the comic store. I got it wrong, but it's not that big.
No. I wasn't. Yeah. Just wanted.
Okay. Look, Derek doesn't like me. We have a lot of friction. He's looking for any excuse possible for. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry, I messed that up.
No. It's still okay. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. And you know what? I was about to explain why it's called Royals, but I think that's actually more fun to discover in the story. Let's just say it's character based. Let's talk about this real quick. It is set in Seoul, South Korea, which is a place a lot of us, don't get to see every day. What did you guys each do for like pulling on reference on and deciding what aspects you wanted to highlight?
Jacob, this is probably more, you had to do all the heavy lifting on this part. And considering you're not Korean.
I was a foreigner traveling here. I watched a lot of Korean movies, Korean gangster movies. I've never been. I want to go someday. I watched some Korean reality TV just to get some vibes. Like, I watched, a lot of internet just to have a tab open of, what Seoul looks like, what the back streets look like, alleys look like. Yeah, it was kind of fun. I felt like I got to take a little bit of a trip there through the process.
It felt really cool to me, and it didn't feel like generic. As somebody, I haven't been to Seoul, but I've been to some big Asian cities like Hong Kong or Tokyo, and it didn't feel exactly like that at all. So awesome. What you were pulling from felt unique and fun and cool.
Okay, this is a true story, I swear. When I got that first page back, the splash page in the first issue, I showed it to my mom, and she couldn't believe Jacob had never been to Korea. She was like,
that's amazing.
How nice. And feels like Korea. She was like, are you sure he's never been there?
So she got to see some of this. That's so nice to hear.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And
my mom never says anything nice about my comics, so that's like finally when it's drawn by somebody else, that's
I think what's interesting about this is that we've got two characters that are brothers. They obviously work together, as you said, but they have an adversarial relationship that isn't just like a jealousy thing. It's something that I felt very authentic. It felt real to me. Like, I don't have a bad relationship with my sister, in my opinion, anyway, because she's in here. She could say something different. I don't know, but I was like, I've had friends and family members that you love, but can still drive you nuts, which I think Castor does to Paul. Were you pulling that from anything specifically? Like, even like whether it's from your life or another story or anything, Derek? Like, where did that idea come from?
Yeah, not to get too, confessional, but I do have a brother, and we definitely do have a love-hate relationship. And our whole lives, there's times where we love each other, there's times where we hate each other, and it's just, we've had a lot of fights, a lot of makeups, and I want this book was sort of like me working that out, in a way.
Wow. Okay.
It's almost like a fantasy of maybe what it could be like, ultimately, or something like that, and it's that whole thing of like, when it's a family member, like when you have a fight with one of your friends and you separate, or even if you have a wife and you guys divorce, you no longer have to see each other. But with sibling family, you can never do that. You can't just separate like most, generally speaking. So it's something you have to work out, And I think that's just rife for stories,
That's
and if you're telepathic twins too, it's harder to separate.
Right, exactly.
Right. They've got a reason to be together beyond just being blood relations. These are twin brothers that have this psychic connection.
Yeah.
What about go ahead. No, please.
Oh, I was just saying, I think that was the way to kind of enhance that, to up that, that dynamic in real life.
Yeah. I'm sorry I don't have more pages. I didn't want to give away too much since it comes out this Wednesday, folks, but I do want to give you a sense of the visuals. What about like all the sort of there's a pretty diverse supporting cast to all of this. How much of that was stuff you had already designed, Derek, versus how much of that was like, Jacob, stuff that you got to play with and come up with visually?
Jacob, do you want to go?
I'll take it. Yeah. Yeah, Derek sent me, I think, basically like one loose sketch per character of just a general idea. But
I did say Jacob was welcome to just start. Like, I didn't send anything first, but then Jacob, you said it'd be nice if you had some idea of what I was thinking.
Yeah, give me a little bit of a little bit of help here.
But because I didn't want to constrict Jacob to But first, just let him do whatever he wanted, and then when he asked me, then I sent it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So basically, the whole project was like that one fight scene. No, I'm just. I asked you to just send me a loose sketch of each character's what you had in your head, because I wanted to kind of base it off of that. So I still have them saved somewhere. I think one of Father Park, one of Alex, one of Dashim.
Alex, by the way, folks, is this like obnoxious henchman that if this ever does get adapted into either animation or TV or something, that is going to be a primo role for some sort of comedian out there. You have created such a funny henchman there.
Yeah, totally.
But I love the look that you gave him then, Jacob, because he's like in streetwear, trying to be like cooler than whoever he is.
Yeah, he's like a hype beast type character.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, but so it was fun just to kind of I because this was my first comic, and I come from a character design background. It was a different process on kind of figuring out the character's final look. It was something that I had never really gone through before, and so I rough penciled the whole entire book. And then throughout cleaning up the pencils, that's when I kind of developed, I almost did design through the pages, and I just developed as the story went on. So you'll even see the first several pages, the characters haven't kind of found their final, set design yet. Yeah. The hair is kind of, has an odd number of points or something like that. But it was a cool process to kind of figure out. And I got to learn my own creative process when it comes to illustrating comics on this project, so it was just fun all around.
I love it because I think all of the characters, the main characters in this, you could probably identify from a silhouette. They're that distinct, but they're very consistent. I loved it. I thought the pacing was great. I thought the fact that we've got a character drama where we care about the characters really helps make the later action comedy intrigue stuff really carry a lot more weight. If you had to say that it's one genre, Derek, is it one genre or is it just a total mashup? Can you limit it to saying that it's one thing or is it not? To me, it feels like it's a blend of so many things.
Yeah, it's hard to say because every time I do a project, I always want to try something a little bit new or something maybe that hasn't been seen exactly before. Yeah. That's always what I'm trying to. That's why whenever people ask me to describe, it's always difficult. Last Mermaid, you've never seen a mermaid in a desert wasteland kind of story, and I always try something kind of new. Like Toon, my previous book, every panel was kind of in this starry background, and all the panels were drawn first, and they were cut out and then put it. So I'm always trying something new. So that's why I always find it hard to say exactly what it is. But if I had to narrow it down to one, I guess it would be crime. I guess the crime.
I guess that's fair. Because crime can encompass a lot.
Right. It's got more action and comedy than I think a typical crime story, but it does have that escalating, like things just keep getting worse. Of a crime story. Yeah.
Nice. Guys, I sincerely love it. Good luck this Wednesday when it comes out. Seems like Image Books are doing pretty darn well right now, so good home to be at, right?
I actually I got my cups right here.
Yeah.
And I have been so busy. I literally have not even had a chance to open it.
Yeah.
So if we have 2 seconds, can
please.
I just open it? This will be forever.
Tell you what, while you're opening it, I could tell about like the time you and I were sort of little rapscallions. So Derek was really kind, folks. I think I mentioned this, and he invited me to go to the Harvey Awards at this year's New York Comic Con. However, apparently you also have to have a pass to the Comic-Con for that day, which I did not have. So we ended up just sort of bullshitting our way past 3 rows of security. Going like, oh no, it's okay. When you're invited, you don't need a pass. And they're like, oh, okay. Knowing that there's like another security guy that we have to go through, we like just sort of play and a mix of playing dumb, going like, oh really? No, they told us we could just come in and
It was like our own heist movie.
Yeah. It was.
Yeah.
But a reverse heist. We were smuggling me in. You had a pass and the invitation, and you were like, and this is him. This is my +1. And I'm just there going like a dum-dum. Yeah.
No, it was awesome. It felt like I was in like Ocean's 11 or something, like a nerd version of Ocean's 11.
It was a really great night. And one of your friends won a huge award, which is awesome.
Yeah. And we got to meet Ando Senti. We got to meet Wendy Peeney, Richard Peeney.
Yep.
That was an amazing night. Yeah, that was an amazing night.
Patrick from
Patrick Horvath. Yeah. A
lot of nice people. Anyway. So did you open it?
Oh my god, this is amazing. All right, so here's cover D, which is my favorite cover of the first issue.
I like it too. It definitely reminds me of sort of an 80s style movie poster.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And this is the rare one. This is like the 125. What is the? How do you say the ratio thing? Chris, 125. Is that right?
Yeah, 1 in 25.
1 in 25. That's what I meant. Yeah. So this is the 1 in 25, I believe. Oh man, this is so exciting, Jacob.
That's how I was when I opened mine the other day.
Oh, okay, awesome.
I was freaking out.
People, this has been like 8 years in the making. I first wrote the story almost like 8 years ago, the first draft.
Oh, no kidding. I had no idea.
Yeah, so this has been a long time. To actually see it real like this is like mind-blowing.
Yeah, I love
Look at these colors, guys. Look at this.
The colors are amazing. Lots of people in the comments were pointing out how much they love the colors. They really pop.
I mean,
but they don't muddy up the art.
This is all Jacob, guys. This is all Jacob. He did everything.
So good.
The ballooning, the lettering, like everything. This is amazing to draw.
Oh yeah, the montage turned out great, huh?
Yeah, the montage looks so amazing. I gotta get my.
Here's something I will hint at about the comic, folks, but I won't spoil. And I'm not really joking. This comic made me afraid of chickens for the first time. There is a scary sequence with a chicken in this comic. Okay, there's a scary sequence.
That's a pull quote, Chris, if I ever heard one.
Yeah, I mean, you might have to massage it a little, but it is true. I love this comic, but it made me afraid of chickens for the first time.
I mean, there's got to be literally no other comic with that.
I've never seen anything like it. I was amazed. Are you looking to see what other covers are in there?
Yeah, I ordered the most of this one because I knew this was the one that...
I love that cover. That's my favorite. And no shade, because I know you did one, Derek, but that is my favorite cover.
Is my favorite too, and I'm including mine. So
Derek fought for that one too, to be on, because I was hesitant about even putting that as a cover. That's the OG cover I did that back when I just had penciled the book, and the designs aren't fully up to date. So if you look at them, they're kind of like old school designs, but I'm glad that we went with it.
I just have to say, Jacob is crazy. That cover is incredible. And I was so bummed originally when Jacob didn't want to use it anymore. And I was like, can I just please use it as the last was a variant cover, and then thankfully he relented.
Yeah,
we got to.
I think that was a good idea. I think you're right.
Thanks, Jacob. Appreciate it.
Do we have any sort of a loose timeline on when The Last Mermaid could be returning?
Oh yes. So I am working on it actively. The problem is, it's such a labor-intensive art style, like a dummy. Sure. I decided to paint every background and whatever, so it takes forever. So I'm 3 other books right now, and working on Last Mermaid at the same time, which is why it's coming out so slow. But it is the next one I'm working on that I'm drawing. So I was hoping it'd be later this year, but I'm in the middle of a move and it's taking so much time. So sometime next year is probably when it'll come out. But I am so dying to get to the next chunk because a lot of plot stuff happens in the next one.
I adored it. I adored it. You know that. That's what's really put us in touch. Oh, that's a great one too. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the main cover, everyone. If you see this in the shops. Yeah.
Royals. There you go.
Oh, Jacob, it looks so good. I'm so
excited. Didn't it turn out good?
Yeah, the colors look great.
Yeah, I was worried that they were gonna disappear.
Me too. This is the first time I've used final what is it? Not Photoshop, but the comics making
Clip Studio.
Clip Studio.
Yeah,
so this is the first comic I exported through Clip Studio. So I was actually a little worried because I heard colors can get kind of funky exporting.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
But it turned out great.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree.
Well, thanks for indulging me, Chris. Sorry, I know I took up extra time.
Yeah, no, hey, we've got a bunch of show, but I'm sincerely grateful that you guys made some time. I love it, so it gets my endorsement to everybody
that means
watching.
A lot.
This Wednesday, April 1st, Royals from Image Comics. Obviously, we're past final order cutoff, so hopefully your store has it. But if they don't, ask them. They'll probably be able to reorder it. That's something Image has been doing a lot lately, but I hope everybody out there gets a copy.
Thanks so much, Chris. And I just wanted to say real quick, I know what you're going through right now, and my heart is out to you, and I'm so happy that you decided to do the GoFundMe, and you can see how much we all love you and how much we all want to support you. So I actually got kind of choked up when you put up that video.
It's been an emotional roller coaster of a day for me as well, but folks should know that Derek really, a lot of people were saying, do it.
Yeah,
Derek actually texted me and was like, maybe I should start this for you. And I was like, okay, if people are like at that point, then I guess it does make sense. And I didn't want to put that responsibility on you. But thank you for helping push Chrissy and I there, because the community has really helped us today, and it's going to help. It's all going to help. So thank you for that.
Man. So happy, man. So happy.
I love meeting you, Jacob. I hope that you have a great experience now that you've created a comic, getting to see fan response. It's weird in comics how delayed that response can be from when you create something to when people have read it and when they get to meet you. But I really think that this is going to get a great response, and it was awesome talking to you both.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us on.
Much, Chris. Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Chris.
Hey, double salute.
Quadruple salute.
Take care, guys.
Oops.
Yeah. Okay, bye. All right. Yeah, that was fun to talk to those guys, and I'm not blowing smoke. I liked the comic quite a bit. Sometimes you're so nervous reading a comic from somebody you like, and you might like an aspect of it, and you can say, hey, you know what? I loved the coloring in this. I love the print quality. There's always something to congratulate people on. This, I just like the whole thing. I loved it. Moves at a great pace, has good characters. I just had such a good time. So yeah, we have plenty more show though, so I don't want to slow anything down too much. How about we move straight into news of the week?
We're sitting on top of the story of the century here.
Put an ad on the front page. Cash money for a picture of Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be famous, and I'll make him infamous.
Hi guys, this is April O'Neil from Channel 6 News, and I am here in beautiful New York City.
All right, plenty of stuff to talk about tonight. Some weeks have several topics where you're like, boy, that's like what I should focus on this week. And it's like, how do you make a thumbnail with all of these different ideas? But anyway, oh yeah, the ticker. Geez, I probably could have started that already. Thanks for the comment. Christopher DeRose. Thank you. To let you guys know what's coming up. So let's get right into it. We've got Punisher news. Hey, I'm Frank. That's a perfect impression. We already knew that Disney Plus was making a Punisher special. This week, Marvel confirmed the title, One Last Kill, and the release date, May 12th. So there's that. And by the way, that is exactly 1 week after the season finale for season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. So even though it doesn't look like Frank Castle is in season 2 of Daredevil, obviously he was in season 1, he's in that world. It's kind of cool that we get like a whole season of one show, and then the next week we get a TV movie. Not bad. Good timing. And it obviously comes out before the next Spider-Man movie that he's in. It'll be really crazy to me if there isn't even a cameo of Daredevil in the Spider-Man movie, by the way. Like, how do you add Punisher but not Daredevil? I don't know. We'll see. Actor John Bernthal actually co-wrote this special along with the director, Ronaldo Marcus Green. I hope that that's a good thing. He definitely, John Bernthal seems passionate about this character, so I hope that that's a good thing. That said, there's a lot of good Punisher comics to draw from, and that's pretty important. Let's see. I like this. My only memory of Dolph Lundgren's Punisher is him shooting a bunch of ninjas at an amusement park. Yeah, and it was like indoors. It was like in a huge, I don't know what you'd even call it, just office space or something. I remember that, him shooting the ninjas on the slide. Let's see. Disney's tagline explaining this special, kind of vague, but it says Frank Castle is trying to live a peaceful life when an unexpected adversary draws him back into his vigilante life. While that hasn't happened a lot in the comics, it also actually isn't unheard of for Punisher to try to give up a life of violence. And also, that was sort of where he was starting at the beginning of Daredevil Born Again season 1. He sort of had been trying to curb his terrible impulses. Frank has always known that he's a very damaged individual. I think that's part of what does make Punisher a little sympathetic is, you know, he is a killer and he goes after the worst of the worst, but he also acknowledges he is sort of a hypocrite and a damaged person. At least a lot of interpretations, not always, you know, there's a lot of different writers that treat him different ways. Let's see. There's high speculation, and I don't know what people are basing this on other than I wonder if they're just trying to wish it into existence or if it really is based on something, but lots of these movie rumor sites keep saying that Ma Nucci will be in this TV special. If so, it would make a certain amount of sense. Welcome Back Frank by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon was a hugely popular Punisher run that essentially rebooted the character, and it did draw him back into, you know, just killing criminals, not in like an explicit way like he'd retired, but it drew him back in, and she was a pretty amusing and entertaining villain. So I did like that. Oh, wow. I didn't know this, but Dave from West Coast Avengers says that he also co-wrote this. By the way, just since Dave's here, I want to let you guys know, over on his podcast, Direct Edition, he interviews Gary Groth, Fantagraphics founder and runner. That's just awesome. Really, really great pull for an interview. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they adapted it quite a bit with the Tom Jane movie, but then they replaced Ma Nucci with the way less interesting original villain Howard Saint, if I'm remembering the name right. It was John Travolta as just a generic bad guy. I didn't think he was all that interesting. I don't know. Oh man, I love Frankencastle, but it is definitely like a split on whether people love that or hate it. I love Frankencastle. Ma Nucci equals Hair Star. There's definitely a lot to that. Like efficient and smart and capable, and yet has lots of things not go their way, lots of body damage. So totally get that. Hello. Let's see. So I'll keep moving. This surprised me a little, but in a pleasant way. So writer Chris Claremont, I always appreciate it when he gets an opportunity to return to the X-Men. I'd go so far as to say nobody gets X-Men as well as Chris Claremont. And how could you argue against that when he has about 17 years straight writing and developing them, even when it started getting spin-offs like X Factor? He had a big hand in stuff like that and Wolverine and just sort of guiding where it would go. So anyway, Chris Claremont is returning to one of the characters he co-created. He's going to do a 5-issue Gambit series. And here's some interior artwork from it, obviously set down in New Orleans. This is just no question, Bourbon Street looking towards Canal Street. And I guess like some people could say this is during Mardi Gras. I'll just let you know, could be any day of the week. That is New Orleans. So it's called Gambit Wanted. It's drawn by an artist named Robert Gill, who I am not familiar with, but I think his style fits. That begins July 22nd. And Marvel has a description for it. Get ready, me, as Gambit, the mutant thief hero, travels back to his hometown for an explosive showdown. Set in the time frame when Gambit returned Storm to what was left of the X-Men, discover how Gambit came to join the team for the first time, and the deadly trial that made it so. Someone's got mutants in their crosshairs down in New Orleans, and when they hire Bullseye to target Gambit, hang on for the most kinetic showdown of the month. Folks, we may finally get a comic book where people throw playing cards back and forth at each other. This is me catching playing cards and throwing them back at you. I don't know. Feels like Gambit's getting a bit of a shine in recent years. You know, he had a pretty prominent role in that X-Men 97 show. He's very prominent in Uncanny X-Men by Gail Simone, which I'd argue is kind of the only good mutant title right now. Jim Lee just drew him in the Superman Spider-Man crossover, and now we're getting this miniseries written by his co-creator. So I don't know. It's a lot for Gambit, and Gambit's pretty cool. Gambit's pretty cool, but he's no Southern lawyer. Gambit may have been to some of these big American cities. I ain't experienced with that. I'm just a humble Southern lawyer, Your Honor. I bet he returns too, because they're doing time travel shenanigans in season 2. So that would definitely be something they could have planned for. I think his hair and trench coat should stay. Like, he should have, big hair. He should have a trench coat because it kind of works like a cape. And I think a trench coat, relatively timeless, or a duster. I like his color scheme, but I probably would be okay with them updating his sort of tights and upper body armor. That never quite made sense. It looked cool when Jim Lee drew it, and they've just stuck with it. Jim Lee knows how to make certain things look cool. All right. Oh, Derek says fingerless gloves are a must. Technically they are, because remember, he can only charge the potential kinetic energy by actually physically touching it. So if he had full gloves, he could only charge his gloves and blow off his own hand, which, not a great idea. Wow, congratulations. That's awesome. Happy for you, Kevin. All right, so here's a weird one. Marvel announced a few weeks ago during that Comics Pro Retailers convention that they were going to spin off the character Symbie, that's this little monster, into a series, and that would be a tie-in to their upcoming event, Queen in Black, whatever. This past week, Marvel told retailers that they're actually delaying the series all the way until December. 6-month delay. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Kind of a weird thing. Symbie, you might be able to tell, it's a symbiote like Venom is a symbiote or Carnage is a symbiote. but it doesn't need a host. It just exists on its own. It's a chaotic little troublemaker, kind of a funny character like, a Stitch from Lilo and Stitch. Spider-Man recently met him in the comics when he was having this space adventure in Amazing Spider-Man. So it sort of made sense. Anyway, the character also kind of sort of existed. There was really more of a version of Venom that exists on the kids show Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Or actually, is it called Spidey and His Amazing Friends? I think it's called Spidey and His Amazing Friends. Because they thought Venom too scary for kids, so they created Symbie. First issue is by writer Joe Kelly, who used him in Amazing Spider-Man. Penciler David Baldion, and it's also got a reprint of an Marvel Online Infinite digital web comic by Jacob Chabot that first sort of did a solo story with Symbie. So, yeah. No objection needed, Your Honor. I think that the people will decide for themselves if they like Symbie or not. Hey, thank you for the super chat. I'm sorry about your studio. Sending support as a fellow Washingtonian. Well, then you know how saturated the ground is. Thank you. I would rather read a Spider-Ham versus Symbie book, actually, than just Symbie. Yeah, give me Spider-Ham as well. I like Spider-Ham. I like Spider-Ham a lot more than I probably should. I'm pretty sure Jeff the Land Shark came first. Yeah, he's been around for more than a minute. I'd have to double check, but I'm pretty sure Jeff is older. I'll talk about something that I put in the thumbnail, as well as some follow-up news. So Disney, and by default Marvel, since they're owned by Disney, they left their deal with OpenAI. You may remember they were going to allow OpenAI's video program thing called Sora to use their characters. No likenesses for actors, but any character that was like, from animation, comic books, or wore a mask like Darth Vader or Boba Fett, they were going to allow people to just do whatever with it. Didn't make sense to me. Seemed like, just a landmine in terms of how to deal with your intellectual property. So whatever. And they walked away from that, which I think is smart. But also, I don't know if you guys have been following the news this week. I'm encouraged. There seems to be a critical mass of pushback against AI because companies are not getting what they thought they'd get out of it. They're using AI agents. Guess what? They've been having to hire back physical employees because they're not getting the correct work done for a wide variety of fields. Copilot specifically by Microsoft, that thing tanked. People are using ChatGPT and Gemini, but they are not using Copilot. So whatever. It's nice to see that, yeah, the technology is here and it's not going to go away, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be force-fed down our throats because it's just too expensive to make any sense. It's just a mess. I think that the AI bubble is starting to burst because I've gone through eras like when the .com bubble burst and and when when NFTs felt like they were like the biggest thing and no one could do without them. And that kind of failed and went away too. It's like the technology is there, but people have bailed on it. And I'm feeling like I am seeing that with AI. Maybe I'm just being too hopeful there, but I think I'm not too cynical or too hopeful. I feel like more or less down the middle. I'm seeing AI fail a lot the last month. Anyway, this also includes Disney withdrawing their $1 billion investment that they were going to give OpenAI. So that's a 2 thumbs up. That's a double salute if I ever heard of one. Because OpenAI is ending their support to the Sora platform. It just did not take off. It didn't take off. They didn't say why. First of all, OpenAI did not say why, because OpenAI is trying to be here, and ChatGPT is pretty popular and successful, I would say, for whatever it is. I don't know if that's going to stay around in its existing form, but I would imagine that large language models will be used for search engine optimization. I think that that's one of the ways and I think that it'll be used to create, like read through data and create charts. It'll sort of eliminate some of the busy work. I think that that's the way AI will continue to go. But anyway, yeah. So $1 billion off, and OpenAI did not say why they were pulling the support for Sora, but I think any of us that are looking at it can reasonably assume it was the costs. It was the costs. It was costing an insane amount to run those stupid servers. Look at this. Projected 14 billion with a B in losses for 2026. That also made the market budge on things like RAM prices and Nvidia's stock. Nvidia's really hurting. No, the time to sell that was like a year ago. Those stupid NFTs. I feel bad for the people that were left like holding the bag because somebody paid way too much and the market fell out, and I feel bad for them. Disney pivoted, and they announced this week, well, they announced two things. One, that they're leaving the Sora deal and they're pulling their $1 billion investment, but they also announced instead, way more positive in my opinion, they have a partnership with Comixit, which is also a Webtoon platform, and they're doing, of course, Webtoon with Naver in South Korea, but they're doing Comixit, which is I call it a Webtoon platform in the text here, but it's really an app in Europe, and it's designed to honestly increase reading comprehension with kids. So it's got books aimed at young readers, get them interested in reading comics, because a lot of data apparently shows the kids that read comics are more than twice as likely to want to read other things like books, news, etc. So comics are absolutely proven to get kids reading more, which I think is a good thing. I think, yeah. It would be nice if so much went down. RAM prices, sure. How about my gas or my groceries? Just living expenses. Am I right? Like, you know, gas here, I've got a Shell station pretty close to me. And Shell is always, I would say, the most expensive gas station. But it's $5.98 if you pay with cash for regular, which means like diesel is something like $7 a gallon. Almost $6 a gallon? I am driving as little as possible. It is so expensive. And I know that my gas prices in Washington State are some of the highest in the nation, if not the highest, but it's insane. It's insane. Oh, I was surprised by this because I thought that this was like an aspect of collecting that was going up. But guess what? CBCS, the grading company, they started over 10 years ago, 2014. This week, they announced that they're closing. Up till now, they've definitely been, they haven't been the biggest in the game. That's always been CGC, but they've been the nearest competitor. They've been the second biggest. But yeah, CBCS is announced this week that they're going to be closing down. Specifically, they said that they're going to stop accepting submissions by mid-April. But they did say that everything they get in, they will still grade and holder, I think it's called, when they put it in that plastic case. So yeah. I definitely hear about gas prices everywhere just because I work in the car industry and have friends in different parts of the country. So I'm aware of how much more mine is than other places, but it's very high. It's higher than Hawaii and most of California. So why did this happen, though? Well, that's probably because, look, Collectors Holdings, they already bought PSA, which is huge in the grading of cards and has gotten into comics. They bought CBCS last December. And at first, it looked like they were going to have two grading companies. But I think somebody was just like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's a lot of redundancy. Let me just clean my glasses a little. So anyway, they have made the decision to close the older company, CBCS, and just focus on PSA. So I was a little surprised that that's the choice they made, but yeah. Yeah, and I think I already said this. A company already stated that they're going to complete all their existing orders. I've never had a book graded and slabbed. I bought one in my life. I've also been given one or two. So I think I have like 3 graded comics, and 2 that I've been given, not like anything huge, just like, hey, it's a small little thing. And I bought one as COVID began. I wanted to support my local comic shop. So I bought, I think it was Ninja Turtles #3. And it was like in a slab. And I was like, you know what? That's one I've already read. I'd kind of like a preserved copy, actually, and I'd be supporting my comic shop when no new comics were coming out because of COVID. So I bought one, and I don't feel bad about it, but it's just not my thing. I don't mind it, honestly, as a hobby, if that's what you're into. I think that there are legit aspects to collecting that way. I do. But yeah. Yeah. Well, if I could move up there to Toronto, to Vancouver, I would, Randy. Oh, tell you what, guys, let me focus on something. Let me remove this for just a second, because my buddy Randy's here, and I want to do something for him because he's always been somebody that helps support me. Randy has a Kickstarter up for just a little bit longer, and I'm going to pull up the web page for his comic. I've already backed it. And I just wanted to put it on people's radar because it's cool. Let me, I can find this. I have to go through. There it is. There it is. I'm pulling up a web page to show you guys something. Randy's a good buddy. Present. Yeah. So this is Randy's done several successful Kickstarters. He sets, in my opinion, very modest goals. He makes sure that he pays his creators first. So he's really not getting rich off of it, but I think he makes sincerely good comics. He had a really successful campaign for his one-shot horror comic just like a couple months ago, Frostbitten. But this one's called For the Love of Comics. 7 short stories that are just all positive stories. Got a project we love from Kickstarter, and yeah, I recommend it. I backed it. I think it's got some really nice looking stories. He found some really great artists. Look at that. That is gorgeous. These are all sincerely talented artists Randy's assembled. And yeah, and writers. And Randy did a little too. I just think it looks like a really good comic, and I thought I'd share that with everybody. Just show you some art before some cool bios on the creators. I got a little distracted there. I hope you can understand. I've got a million things going on in my life. Let me get back to the news, but I did want to share that Randy has that Kickstarter up. I think it's something that you could really enjoy. Oh, that's an interesting comparison. Gas is about $3 Australian. $3 Australian a liter in Melbourne. Huh. All right, I'm going to move on with the news. Monstress. How many people here read Monstress? Monstress has been going for a minute. Monstress is a really cool creator-owned comic at Image, but I've got some news on that one. Pretty cool cover. I know it's like kind of hard to see all the details. That's very intentional. All right. So the hit Image comic Monstress by writer Marjorie Liu, art by Sana Takeda. It's going to be adapted into an Amazon Prime animated series, which I think makes a lot of sense. I think that that's really, really cool. Some people saying no, some people saying yes, they're familiar. Catch up on it now. Be in the know before it becomes a show, and like all your coworkers are like, "You heard about this cool thing called Monstress?" You're like, "Yeah, because I read comics." Anyway, sort of it's kaiju, it's steampunk. It's been running since 2015, so over 10 years, and it follows a young woman with a literal monster that lives inside of her. On a quest to understand her past, as well as avenge her mother's murder, she's joined by, an ensemble, colorful ensemble, talking cat, hybrid fox, human girl, and they go get into sort of a war between human and monstrous forces. I think it's pretty cool. The show is going to be run by Steven Maeda. And he was the showrunner for season 1 of the live-action One Piece show, which was a huge hit for Netflix, whether you like it or not. It was absolutely a hit for them. And Maeda has worked on some other good stuff. He's got a lot of TV history. He's worked on X-Files. He worked on Lost. So it's kind of cool to think that he'll be doing something like this. It's a really unique comic. I don't think that there's anything exactly like it out there. The artwork by Sana Takeda is amazing. It really is a manga-esque looking book through sort of a Western comic book lens. I think you'll like it. So I can understand that. Sana Takeda has a very detailed art style. But so do many manga creators, and there have been plenty of detailed manga like Akira or Chainsaw Man. I think both of those are by very precise artists, mangaka artists, that have been turned into good animation too. So I think it is possible, is all I'll say. I think it's possible. We'll see. I wish. 2015 sounds like the future to me. Here's hopefully a funny bit of news for you guys. Oh, let me acknowledge this. Hey, Chris, fellow YouTuber. Mark from the Sig Slayers Station. Longtime watcher, first time commenting. I'm grateful. I hope you're doing well. Sometimes. And your house is doing better. Yeah, I guess it's doing better. I guess you could argue it's doing better. Thank you. I hope this helps. It's all I got. No. That's very generous. I'm very grateful. Thank you. Thank you. And good luck with the YouTube game. Thank you for watching. That means a lot to me. I think Monstress is a Top Cow book. Hold on 2 seconds. I think I've got it on my shelf up here. Give me 2 seconds. Let me check this out real quick. Let me back this up. There it is. Excuse me, Spider-Man. I've got my versions of Japanese Spider-Man in the way. Of course I do. Monstrous. I read Monstress. That hasn't aged well. It's a pull quote from Neil Gaiman. It's not exactly a selling point to everybody anymore. So far, this is only saying image. Maybe it isn't Top Cow. Let me go to the back. I thought that when somebody said, is it Top Cow, that sounded right, but I don't see any mention of Top Cow in this, actually. So, must just be image. Anyway, it's a cool comic, okay, folks? Let's keep going. Technically, I don't. I've got an AI filter that always makes it look like I've got pants on. I don't wear pants, but I'll make it look like I wear pants. Maybe it is Top Cow, and it just didn't mention it on my trade dress. I don't know. It sounded right. But we'll switch to another bit of image news. So this to me reminded me, I hope this isn't too old of a reference point, but is that dress gold and white or blue and black? You guys may remember that there was an image and everybody was arguing whether it was blue and black or white and gold. Different people saw it differently. Yeah. Anyway, it's an argument that's going on this week across social media. Started on Twitter when a fan pointed out that Omni-Man from Invincible has he says, I just totally botched my delivery on there. Let's just look at this. This fan, Poda Norimaki, says, can I ask, was this intentional? Was this intentional? They took an image of Invincible in his blue suit and they did, an inversion of it, and it looks red and white. And Ryan Otley, the artist for almost all of Invincible, says, of course not. Read Invincible. That's the proof. Omni-Man's colors are red and blue. Red and blue. Makes no sense. We'd know it'd be changed to white for the show, so we wouldn't have inverted it years and years before. So yeah, people always thought that, not people, a bunch of people thought that Omni-Man had a white and red suit, but that's what it looks like in the animated series, not how it looks in the comics. When the show was adapted for Amazon, yeah, they changed it to white and red. They made a small change. But apparently fans have always, or a lot of fans, not every fan, but a lot of readers have thought that the blue that we saw in Omni-Man's outfit was always meant to be like shading or something like that. I'll show you why that's not true. Here's an image of Omni-Man versus Immortal. And Immortal has a blue and white and yellow suit. That clearly reads as white. Omni-Man, if you look, it's a very light blue. That's it. But people were like reading this as like shading when he's by himself a lot of the time. And it is light. It's not Superman dark blue or anything like that. Anyway, yeah, the comics, they always intended it to be light blue. It was just changed for the show. But apparently a lot of people thought that it was always white. So that's been an argument that's been going on this week. It's kind of funny. Thank you for the support. I need it now more than ever, so thank you. Chris wanted to say, this show is something I look forward to every week. Oh, cool. Your love for comics comes through in the most sincere way. Sorry for what happened to your house. I hope things get better soon. Well, with the support of my audience and family and friends, it is. Ryan did sort of like later, like walk some of his reaction back. He was just surprised, I think, that people thought that it was supposed to be something. Anyway. Yeah, a lot of people did. A lot of people thought that it was shading. And I had to like go, let me find somewhere where it actually contrasts with somebody that does definitively have white, and you can see the difference. So this fight with Immortal kind of shows you this is how white would be portrayed on a suit, and this is how light blue would be presented. But I think it's because there's not too many superhero costumes that have a light shade of a color. Right? We tend to deal in primary colors when possible, and if not, secondary colors, but usually pretty bright and vibrant. It's just not common for it to have a light version. Yeah. We'll go over to some Dark Horse news, but Mark Millar is returning to Dark Horse. He's bringing his series Star-Crossed, which, by the way, features artwork, including this cover, by Italy's Corrado Mastantuono. Yeah, that sounds right. Mastantuono. Look at that. That gives some vibes of some classic, again, to me, 80s posters, but God, I love the colors and the hard lines on that. That is just a gorgeous cover. This guy, I know he's drawn for Topolino, Mickey Mouse comics over there. I don't know what else he's done, but it looks really nice from what I've seen. Mark Millar does always pony up the big bucks for some of the best artists in the industry. There's no, like, whether you like his stories or don't, like, he always works with some of the best artists out there. Nemesis was, I think the final issue was in January, but I say returning for a reason. Good catch, but there is a reason. I'll get to it. Anyway, this one, Star-Crossed, 5-part sci-fi series. It's a follow-up to 2 books that he's done before, Space Bandits and also Sharky the Bounty Hunter. Both of those were originally at Image Comics, by the way. Anyway, that'll have the protagonists from both comics clash after the Space Bandits characters rob the universe's richest woman, and the bounty hunters go after them. Anyway, yeah, Millar's last 2 projects, Psychic Sam and Conquered, both went to Kickstarter. That's why I say came back to Dark Horse. Because yes, it wasn't that long ago that he published an issue with Dark Horse, but it's been several months since he announced a new comic at Dark Horse. Because he announced the last 2 himself through Kickstarter. So that's why I say it's interesting that he's going back to Dark Horse. Yeah, he basically does his own stuff. It's all creator owned, so it's whatever publisher wants to pick him up, and if he thinks it's a better option, he does crowdfunded these days. By the way, I just thought I'd bring this up because they're using a version of it in this trade dress. But this week, Dark Horse changed its company logo. They've changed it a few times over the years, but more recently it had the horse with sort of the spiky hair. And so they've changed it back to sort of like a smooth mane. And they've changed the logo part to a pixelated thing and added comics nerds since 1986. It's probably like about the 6th logo maybe that Dark Horse has had. They've had versions of the horse chess piece, but they have made some changes to it over the years. But yeah, they've got a new logo. Thank you for the support. Appreciate you, Frank. That's really nice of you. Just thought I'd share that, though, that Dark Horse has a new logo. So you'll see that around as long as Dark Horse is around. Remember, we had news recently that they let go Mike Richardson as the CEO. So who knows what their plans are. Distillery. Guess what? Distillery said they're back. It was just February that Distillery said that they were going to be paused for the near future. Well, here we are just over a month later from that announcement, and Distillery said that they are back and they're letting readers know which books are back because you have to tell your store to order it again because they canceled the previous orders. They definitely went through a couple different versions of distribution. And yes, as King of New York says, somehow Distillery has returned. So here's some of the books. I won't read them all to you. You can sort of glance at them and see if there's creators that you like, or if you were reading some of these books. For instance, I was really enjoying White Boat by Snyder and Francavilla, so I'm excited that that's coming back. This is the order of release, too. Just know that each of them have different final order cutoff dates. A Mischief of Magpies is got a final cutoff in early May, I think, and then continues forward. So these are all going to come out in like June and July. June and July is when they're actually coming out. But if you want any of these books, I'd recommend telling your local comic shop to order it sooner rather than later. I am too. That was one I was really disappointed, and I was going to mention it, that I didn't see on this list, and I don't understand because obviously Scott is still doing stuff with Distillery if they've got this issue going. I don't know. I really liked the first issue. I had some fears that like the story could go a certain way and then I wouldn't be surprised, but I really liked that first issue, so I was hopeful. Anyway, I'm glad White Boat's coming back. I think Snyder and Francavilla together are really good at horror stuff. So looking forward to that. Thought I'd put that on people's radar. Nano by Alexandra Grant. Anybody out there, before I say it, know who Alexandra Grant is? She's a little famous, but not for comics. She's a little famous. I'll start talking about the news, and if somebody knows, they can spoil everybody. Anyway, visual artist Alexandra Grant. She's teaming up with writer Matt Kint, artist Natasha Bustos, who I really like her work, and letterer Sophia Hilmes on her first comic book, Nano. Grant was meeting Kint a lot while Kint was visiting the home that she shares with her partner, Keanu Reeves, because obviously Kint and Reeves were doing Berserker together. And anyway, she and Kint started talking. Alexandra Grant had something she thought of as a novel, and after talking to Kint, they decided to turn it into a 3-issue comic book. Anyway, yeah, 3-issue sci-fi action series debuts from Dark Horse this summer. Nano is going to follow a resistance fighter infiltrating the titular megacity run by the evil Nanocorp. However, while her partner is tasked with infiltrating a secret research facility, she must play a more mundane role, posing as his wife and a PE teacher. Interesting. I guess that was everything on that one. Good luck to them. Yeah, I've seen some of Alexandra Grant's work online. It is interesting. Seems like a sweet relationship that she and Keanu have. But Keanu seems to be a really good person. That'll break my heart if a scandal ever came out about him. But I also sort of feel like if it was going to happen, it would have already happened by now. Isn't he like 62 or something now? So anyway, and I trust Matt Kent. Matt Kent writes well. He's a good writer. All right. DC news. DC surprised folks, at least they surprised me this past weekend. They announced that they're doing an epilogue issue to DC KO. I thought that event was over and done with. Apparently there's a little bit more. Scott Snyder and Sanford Green are going to team up for the DC All-In Saga, Darkseid versus the World. So this will tell us what happened to Darkseid after the DC KO event. You know, obviously good guys won, bad guys lost, but what happened to Darkseid? DC's not going to get rid of him. No additional story details yet or a release date. The image you see to the right was taken by the Comic Book Couples Counseling podcast at the WonderCon panel. So one thing that's interesting is there are a bunch of new Gods characters. You know, we can see Orion, Big Barda, Scott Free. So yeah, it sounds like throwing Darkseid back to New Gods stuff, which would be good. Darkseid is a kind of cool villain for the whole universe, but you know, he's part of the New Gods. He should stay with New Gods. I like that actually quite a bit. The follow-up to DC KO, DC OK, where everything totally fine, no problems. But then there's a little bit more. Oh, and by the way, Sanford Green, big fan of him now, so that interests me quite a bit. There was also a second epilogue announced. Joshua Williamson and artist Eddie Barrows are going to team up for Superman Annual Year 1000, and I think that will very, very likely set up the not announced, but we all know it's going to happen, Legion of Superheroes book by Joshua Williamson. Sanford is good at making villains imposing and scary, no question. I'm looking forward to it. Oh, look at that. Are you terrified? Swamp Thing. At C2E2. By the way, there were like 3 big Comic-Cons this past weekend. There was C2E2 in Chicago. There was WonderCon in the LA area, right? And there was PlanetCon in Kansas City. I think that there was also the Lexington Comic-Con in Lexington, Kentucky. So there was a lot of comic conventions splitting, you know, the audience and the pros this weekend. Was Mocha this past weekend? At least that's sort of indie. So like that's not a total overlap of the creators that some of the big cons go after. But yeah. Anyway, at C2E2, they had a Slaughterverse panel. So writer James Tynion IV was there. He explained how the Something is Killing the Children book that he writes, that he created, is going to cross over with Swamp Thing for the announced one-shot Swamp Thing is Killing the Children. Tynion said he spent 2 years trying to convince DC publisher Marie Javins to let him do this one-shot. It's happening, but why would Swamp Thing be killing the children? It's a great title. It's a fantastically evocative title. It's really, really good. But like, why would he do that? Well, there is an explanation. It's why they're crossing over. So this is what Tynion said, quote, "The core of the story is set in the world of Something is Killing the Children, where you have 2 brothers. There's an older brother who loves horror comics and has a giant poster of Swamp Thing on the wall in his room. Then you have a younger brother who loves superhero comics, but he's terrified of his older brother's horror comics. That fear manifests into the shape of something very familiar in those words, and that is where Erica Slaughter enters the scene. That makes sense. In the world of something is killing the children, if a child is too afraid, their fear can manifest into an evil entity. So if a kid was scared enough of the idea of Swamp Thing, he could basically bring that into existence. That makes sense. Ooh, interesting. EJ says there were a lot of empty WonderCon tables. I've always thought of WonderCon as a pretty strong convention. I believe it's run by the same people that run San Diego Comic-Con, so I always thought of it as a big one. In that world, comics can actually hurt you. Theoretically, yes. Anything that scares you enough. I like that idea that it makes a logical sense. But I also wouldn't be surprised if somehow Swamp Thing, like a good version, comes into this world too. So we'll see. I like it. Want to let people in the Ohio area know about this. The Maltz Museum of Jewish Heritage in Beechwood, Ohio, are going to unveil an exhibit titled Icons in Ink, The Jewish Comics Experience. Starts May 7th, goes through the end of the summer, August 23rd. These are just pictures of the museum, not of the specific exhibit, just to be clear. The exhibit is all about Jewish history and identity, and it includes a massive component about comics and its history by Jewish creators. They have some interesting things there. They're going to have more than 100 original artifacts, they say. Includes rare and never-before-seen materials that chronicle Superman's enduring impact, including Golden Age comics and newspaper strips, Jerry Siegel's original writing desk, and published and unpublished artwork by Joe Shuster. So Superman's creators will have some stuff there. There's also going to be art by other people that have worked on Superman, and it sounds like, basically Jewish creators. We've got John Bogdanove, Howard Chaykin, Brian Michael Bendis. That makes sense since, he's from Ohio. They're going to have all 9 of the Fleischer animated cartoons from the 40s. I think it was the 40s, right? Yeah, it was the 40s. Restored in high definition. They'll have those playing. They're going to have a 1940 article by Look magazine at the new popularity of Superman. Bunch more. So, thought I'd put that on people's radar in case you live anywhere in the area. You might want to start making a plan to go visit this exhibit because, I don't know, to me, I would definitely love to see something as seemingly mundane as Jerry Siegel's writing desk. To me, that is history I care about, and if I could make that tactile, that would mean something to me. Yeah. I think you're right that there's a Siegel typewriter in the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. I'm pretty sure that is the case. I've been there before, and that sounds familiar. I don't even have text for this. It's just that DC in the last few weeks announced all of these as upcoming compact comics. Makes sense, Dark Knight Returns. Gotham Central is an underrated one that I would recommend to people. Superman Red Sun was only 3 issues, but still, $10 is a good value no matter what. Look, one of the Alan Moore Swamp Thing era arcs with Stephen Bissett and John Totalben. Batman, Harley, and Ivy by Dini and Bruce Timm. Fables, I love Fables. Crisis on Infinite Earths. The more recent Mr. Miracle. Is that the most recent thing they've got? I think Mr. Miracle is the most recent thing that they've adapted in this batch. But I thought I'd just put that on people's minds. A lot of these really good books for $10. You really can't go wrong. $10 is such a good value, whether it's like 3 issues or 12 issues. They're all $10, but good value. Good value. Moving forward. Oh, yeah, I get the idea with this, but I'm nervous about it. Webtoon announced its plans to roll out a number of new features for Canvas. That's the area where just anybody can upload their comic book, their digital vertical scrolling comic, and includes something interesting. The biggest addition is the use of AI translation for localization. So you're going to be able to translate your comic into English, Spanish, French, Indonesian, Thai, traditional Chinese. I believe they just mean Mandarin there, and German. They're going to have a beta version that'll be available to English users this spring, and then all creators should have access to it this summer. I'm not a big fan of AI translation because it doesn't do a good job. However, there is an advantage here that I'll point out. Anyway, the service is optional. You don't have to have it done. You can opt out of it easily enough. But it's designed to extend the reach of the comics. These are emerging artists, right? And obviously, if you can get your comic in front of more readers, that's a good thing, especially when you don't have, money to pay a translator. There's also going to be tools where you can say, hey, the AI didn't translate something right, and you can get an actual human review to correct and edit it. That's not bad. You probably wouldn't know, but maybe a reader would. Maybe a reader would point out to you like, hey, this isn't right. And then I just wanted to point out that Webtoon used to allow for fan translations, but they did end that service last November. So I guess this was in some ways inevitable, but at least you're not paying for it. And I'd say this, if I was paying for a comic, I'd want an actual professional human translator, because they're going to understand nuance. They're going to understand localization. It's not just going to be translate word, and make a mess of what it's trying to say. But if you are just trying to get your foot in the door, you're just trying to self-publish essentially a comic, put it on a platform where there's more readers, and extend that reach to more people, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. I really don't. To utilize AI to put it, like if I wanted to upload a comic that I wrote and I wanted people in Thailand and France and Mexico to be able to read it, and I can't afford to but I can allow an AI to do it. It's not that bad of an idea, in my opinion. It's not. I don't think it'll do a great job. And if I was doing it and putting my money behind it for a crowdfunded campaign or submitting it to a publisher, I would say that's a bad idea. But when we're talking about free, it's not the worst use I've heard of. Yeah, I thought that was interesting too, Victor, that there's no Korean. I can only assume it's because of the fact that they're based in Korea and they sort of treat that with more respect. They also don't list Japanese. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know if this will be a hit or not. I feel like I see potential in this one, and I'm not immediately resistant to it. I think that there are potential uses for AI if we work on them enough. It would be awesome, I think, in a way, if we could all instantly translate everything by putting on a pair of glasses. But you're probably always going to lose certain nuance. You're probably always going to lose a certain amount of cultural meaning, or humor, I think, which is always based on the history of a language and the history of a people. I'm sure AI will pretty much never be able to get that. Well, I don't know, because they announced all this as part of Canvas with saying things like the beta version will be for English users. So I just don't know. I'm just not an expert in Webtoon because I'm not reading on it every day, but I do dip in and out, and there are talented people on there. There are. There's also some really, really rough stuff, but I get it as a way to get your foot in the door. I get that. I also get that you could end up signing a contract that, screws you over, but we'll see. Here's an argument over some manhwa that happened. So Tong Li Publishing Limited from Hong Kong issued a statement that alleges that Thailand-based publisher Burapat Comics has been printing, distributing, and selling the comic Hong Sa Som Rashan without legal authorization. And that translates to the ravages of time, at least with localization efforts. So yeah, the Thai release of Ravages of Time is a Chinese language historical comic from Hong Kong. It's set in the Three Kingdoms era. It's been popular for a very long time. Thai readers have been reading it for over 20 years. It's a really long-running comic. But Tong Li said that it previously granted Burapat Comics rights to publish the Thai editions of collected volumes 1 through 24, and the agreement ended back in December of 2008. This is forever ago. I can't believe something like this has been going on this long and they're finally getting around to it. But yeah, the publisher said they repeatedly tried to negotiate with the Thai publisher to protect the creator's rights, which is usually not something that Chinese comics care about if you ever read up on the history of that. But the proposals showed a lack of respect to the rights holders and no agreement on compensation was reached, leading the company to prepare legal action. So yeah, apparently for, I'm doing the math real quick. What's that, 18 years? 18 years a Thai publisher has been illegally publishing e-comics, published print comics, etc. of this. Where are they getting the comic from? I don't understand. I read the article all the way through. It doesn't say where they're getting this, like whether they're just scanning the comic or if they're getting digital files somehow. I don't understand. But the Chinese publisher says that the Thai publisher has been illegally printing the comic for 18 years. I don't know. But by the way, if you think that the comics industry here doesn't really treat creators very fairly, or that Japan, maybe you can make more money, but their hours are insane, check out what they expect Chinese comic book creators to do. It is close to slave labor, folks. They sincerely expect an artist to sit at their desk and create something insane. I'm not even exaggerating here, like 5 to 8 pages a day. A day. It's insane. They just expect them to sit there and draw and shut up about it. There are some real horror stories about Chinese manhwa. It's terrifying. It does not sound like fun work. But I guess if you're choosing between that and, working with melted steel all day, maybe it sounds more appealing. I don't know. That's true. South Korea also is tough, but South Korea is close to sort of Japan, where it's just like a really silly amount of work ethic. But yeah, in China, it sounds brutally unfair. Brutally unfair. This comic has been going on for longer than 18 years. They had the rights to do the first 24 volumes. I don't know exactly how long that was, but at least presumably that was for a year or two. And then they've been continuing with it for another 18 years. Crazy story. And I'll do sort of a little bit of manga news here. Netflix confirmed this week they're going to make City Hunter 2, an original live-action movie with Ryohei Suzuki back as Ryo Saeba, alongside Masato Morita as Kaori. And it's funny, I never realized this when I was reading City Hunter manga before, because I didn't understand how, like, sometimes a name can also be a word and mean more than one thing. But his assistant, Kaori, Ryu has like a love-hate relationship with her. Kaori can translate into ice. And I was like, oh, I bet that's 1,000% intentional, because she's kind of icy towards Ryo. Anyway, so the movie's coming out in 2027. Live action adaptation of Tsukasa Hogo's 1980s hit manga about a private detective. It mixes action and humor. It's been adapted into anime several times. It's had live action movies before. Jackie Chan famously portrayed the character in a movie. That has a really funny extended bit where his character gets like hit on the head and imagines himself as a series of Street Fighter characters in a fight. It's very silly. The first movie debuted at #1 on Netflix's global top 10 for non-English films the week of April 22nd through 28th. Back in 2024, it cracked the top 10 in 32 different countries. So it was a big enough hit that it was kind of a no-brainer that Netflix would want to make another one. Anyway, Rotten Tomatoes shows that it actually does have a pretty diverse, or maybe I should just say like a big spread between critics and viewers. This is one that critics were like, it's only sort of okay. And fans were like, no, we kind of like it. Anyway. I said Hogo. I meant Hojo. Jesus Christ. Thank you for that. Maybe there's other Jackie Chan movies we could do for Trash Movie Bonanza that might make sense. We'll see. One other piece of news, I guess. Yeah. This one hurts a little. It's some Peach Momoko news. She posted this great piece this week. Turn your weapons into paintbrushes. And this is an original character that she's been drawing for a long time. It's some sort of art warrior. Okay. And that prompted me to show, a version that she painted of that character 10 years ago as a mural in Portland. There I am getting to see it in person. It's humongous. It's really cool. It's cool to see how her art has evolved and how she's, continued to develop her own character here. But this just happened 3 days ago, I guess. New owners of the building, and they completely repainted it. The mural is no more, I'm afraid. If you wanted to go to Portland specifically to see Peach's mural, I'm afraid it's not there anymore. That said, it is technically street art when it's a mural, and 10 years is considered a very long time for a mural to exist. Sometimes you're lucky and they last longer, they get protected, but it was around for 10 years, almost to exactly. And so they repainted the entire building, I'm afraid, and so you can't see the mural anymore. There's photos of it out there, and obviously Peach's artwork has evolved in a lot of ways. She's really advanced her techniques and stuff. But I just wanted to put it out there because I would feel bad if somebody made a plan to go there and it's not there. So it's better to spread the word. It's too bad. Yeah, I wish it had been protected too. I've got a friend here in Seattle, goes by this art name Henry, and he's painted literally thousands of murals, especially of Sasquatch. And every once in a great while, one of them gets covered up, and it does feel like a loss. But there's way less of Peach Momoko murals out there. I don't know of any other murals that are out there. There probably must be one or two. There must be, I hope. But this one was a big one. It was kind of a semi-famous thing if you were a fan of her artwork that you could go see. I went and saw this with Dave from West Coast Avengers. We're like, we like Peach. We're going to go see it in person. And I'm glad we saw it just in time. Yeah, murals are absolutely legal. I would say that they typically beautify a building rather than just plain. It's not like graffiti. To do a mural this big, you need to have permission from the building owner. But they own the building. They can repaint it if they feel that it needs to be to preserve the structure, or if it's just time for a new look. Sorry I am late. I was busy Baja blasting. Thanks for being here, Steve. You're great. Anyway, kind of a bummer, but I wanted to share that. It is what it is. It's too bad. Let's see. How much of this can I say? I've been in touch with Peach and Yo, her husband and partner. He manages her art career, does so much to make Peach's career happen. And yeah, they're aware. They're a little sad, but they understand, I think. That's the vibe I got, but they are a little sad that it happened. I'll be announcing something soon. They have offered to help me with my recovery efforts in the flood. I'll talk about that a little bit more later when I'm drawing, okay? Because I'll give you guys a bigger update about, personal stuff later. Why don't we pivot the show? I'm going to take a minute actually to plug something in here. I was charging up the second camera for the review portion, and I know that I am now getting a little bit of a choppiness. That'll go away in a sec. Just give me a minute to set something up. All right. Let's see. Another Steve Sorensen meme post equals let's go Mets. I'm starting to think that this Steve Sorensen guy that shows up in our chat might be a fan of the Mets. I'm starting to think that. I don't know. Let's see. Let's pivot to reviews.
Let's review.
Review it.
The review.
The reviews are in. I repeat, the reviews are in.
Go to your reviews.
What? Speaking of bad reviews.
Don't worry about that review.
Let's review all the facts. All right, gentlemen, let's review.
Before we do, let's review.
Those reviews really came out fast.
Maybe we can review some right now?
I'm not going to review all that again.
Now let's review.
Not my worst review.
Let's review, shall we? To review.
I think I've reviewed about as much as I can.
All right. Bunch of comics came out this week. Some I liked and some I wasn't a huge fan of. I'll start with Void Rivals. And I'll keep it brief. I like Void Rivals as a comic. This is written by Robert Kirkman. New artist is Andre Bresson, and I like Andre's art quite a bit. In fact, I want to show off to you guys. Let me zoom out just a little because I want to show you a really cool 2-page spread that he has. He's got good art. Where is it? That's a nice 1-page spread, but I thought I had... There we go. I thought that this looked nice. I thought that this is a cool... I know I've got some glare and stuff, but this is a cool sci-fi comic, okay? Original characters who I do find interesting and cool, but it's set within a shared universe with Transformers and G.I. Joe, and sometimes I think that the Transformers and G.I. Joe parts can be a little more interesting than the original characters. And that's only frustrating when they get a small amount of play. For instance, Pythona from G.I. Joe gets about 2 pages in this. She's got this and 2 pages, literally. This, the last 2 pages. That's not a lot. It's almost a tease. We're in the middle of an arc that crosses over with Transformers lore in a pretty big way. It's Quintus on War, and it's part 4 of 6. And I'll just tell you something. I felt like this issue stopped the momentum of the storyline just dead in its tracks. There's a couple good bits of art in it, and I don't mind the overall story, but these Quintessons emerge, and there's this new, they call it the War Tribunal. It's basically just a big, powerful new Quintesson that's going to lay waste to our main character's home planet. It's okay, but it's a little... it's a good design, and it's a good sort of powerful villain, but his dialogue is not the best. There's other stuff I read by Robert this week that I loved. This is the War Tribunal has 3 faces instead of 5, and he's saying why he's judging this planet fit for destruction. Count 1, you are weak. Okay. Count 2, you are afraid. Okay. Count 3, you are bad at war. Whatever. Bad at war? I don't know. I'm going to just leave it there. I like the book, but this particular issue just wasn't my favorite. I felt like it stopped the momentum of this war that's going on. It just didn't go anywhere for me. I'm open to other ideas. Thank you, Daniel. Hopefully things improve. They almost can't get worse, minus maybe like dying or the house burning down, like, anyway. Would you ever consider an episode looking at album cover comics? Pedro Bill and Wilfred Liminis comes to mind. You know what? I would in this specific sense. To do something like that, you probably need to include some music clips. Almost impossible to edit properly so that YouTube says, yeah, that's fair use. But I could do it unmonetized and put it on Patreon potentially. So it's a cool idea. Yeah, they just call it the War Tribunal. So they don't call it a quintesson, but it is a quintesson. It's like their race. I don't know. It's fine. You know what? Before I talk about this, let me just take a quick look at something. Wasn't I going? Yeah, you know what? I wanted to talk about this, but I also wanted to talk about Marvel's event comic Ultimate Endgame. So let me add this real quick and take this off for a second. Because I just forgot to pick this one up at the comic book store. Not the end of the world at all, but I forgot to. So I got it digitally on. I want to say Global Comics is what I used for this one. So rather than flip through, I'm just going to show you. That's a Mike Del Mundo cover. It's so weird. I love the Ultimates, but Ultimate Endgame thus far isn't doing a whole lot for me. It's very trippy and surreal in its logic. That's okay. I think that the maker's a good villain. I'll just cut to the chase with this, folks. They kill off a major character in this. And in a way, why not? The Ultimate Universe is ending. They just wrapped up Ultimate Spider-Man, right? This is going to be a little bit of a spoiler. However, you're either reading this or you're not. And this spoiler doesn't ruin the whole storyline. It's because it's just the thing that happens. But I'm giving you, if you want to skip forward a few minutes or something, you can, okay? If you're watching this after it's live, there are chapter breaks. If you're watching this live, you can either tune out or I'll spoil a little something. They kill off a major character. Specifically, the villain Maker takes control of Spider-Man's like nanotech. They call it picotech suit, which is, like the suit that he's been wearing in the movies and stuff. And he looks like Carnage, fine. And he kills Spider-Man. He kills him. And they try to make this feel very much like it's really happening, because after this, they cut to a shot of Mary Jane, who, is living safely with her kids and just knows Peter is out there having an adventure. And she's like, oh, I felt like something bad happened. It's like Return of the Jedi sensations or something. And then on top of that, they even have like a goodbye letter from Peter to his kids. Like, in case I don't survive this is my goodbye. So here's the thing. They're going too far. It's like it's an abundance of evidence. If they just killed him, I might have believed it. But when they added Mary Jane's reaction and that goodbye letter, I was like, they're milking it. They're trying to convince me. It feels like they're trying to convince me that they've killed him. This has time travel shenanigans going on. I think that they're going to bring him back before it's all done. I really do. I could be wrong, but I think that they're going to bring him back. And therefore, this doesn't mean anything. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I wish I liked it more, because I've loved the Ultimates, and I really, really, really loved Ultimate X-Men. I liked Ultimate Spider-Man. I thought that it was a nice 2-year story that they've given us. Now they're coming to the conclusion. I think Maker is a fantastic villain. But it's just so esoteric. The idea that like half of the heroes are in this bubble fighting him, and the other heroes are off just sort of fighting all these supervillains. It's like, it's stuff I want to see, but we're only getting snippets. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like they're wrapping up each of the individual stories in the comics, and then there's this event, and it's like, but we already feel like we got some closure in X-Men and Spider-Man. We already feel like we got the closure we needed, which was good. And now there's this event. It's very strange. Very strange. How did I feel about Ultimate Invasion? I don't really remember, so that's probably not a good sign. I probably thought it was interesting, and that's it. Anyway, it can't quite get my recommendation. I'm going to follow it to see. I mean, it's what, 2 more issues? I can commit to that to just sort of see what they do to wrap up the Ultimate Universe. But it's more of a curiosity than an enjoyment of the story arc. I don't feel like it's great. I wish I liked it more. All right, let's go to the next event thing, and it's Superman Spider-Man #1, as in DC's contribution to this new crossover. Boy, were there a lot of variant covers for this. I sort of knew that there would be, but I'm there in the comic shop, and they're not even like, 1 in 25. They just have like 10 or 11 variant covers you can choose from, and I was like almost overwhelmed. So I ultimately went with this one by David Nakayama because I consider David a friend at this point, and I do like the color block that he did. There are some other really good covers too, to be clear. It was a tough choice for cover. But the comic itself is very much like the Deadpool Batman stuff. It is hit and miss because it's an anthology. And I think in retrospect, doing the anthology is a mistake because it feels like the main story could have used a few more pages, and the backup stories are too short to truly be meaningful. But it's not all bad. It isn't. Let's see. Thank you for the support. Hey, Chris, heard about the flood, so wanted to make sure I was on today's stream. Apologies, and hope this helps out a bit. It certainly does. Thank you very, very much. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for any help. I'm grateful for any kind words or shares. That all means a lot to me. In some ways, I might have enjoyed saving the $2 in retrospect. I like the main story. It's by Mark Waid and Jorge Jimenez. And I'll tell you something. The art is great. It really is. The story feels natural. They're not doing anything like, I'm crossing over into your universe. They just exist in a shared universe. Go with it. Clark and Peter both work for a newspaper, so they're on a newspaper story. They know who each other are. We're cutting out a lot of stuff to streamline the story. And then Dr. Octopus gets contacted by Brainiac, and they start working together. And that's fine. Those are some good villains for them to go up against. I can believe that these two sort of, mad scientist type characters would seemingly ally for a while, but also eventually be different enough that they can't get along. I'm fine with all of that. I really like some of this stuff. Look at this 2-page spread by Jorge Jimenez of the characters going over the city. That's nice looking. It's really nice. I think Jorge is a great artist. I think Mark Waid has the plot structure and the dialogue that make it make sense. They go up against a problem that involves stuff like kryptonite, and they swap villains, so we get something a little new. That's fun. We get a little bit of character work. It's all good. It really is. But it's also kind of brief. I would have, because I like this enough that I would have liked more. I would have liked this to have had space with, give me like Mary Jane and Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane having significant roles. Give more space so that Jorge can go nuts on the action scenes. It's good. It's better than good, to be honest. It's quite good. It's so good that I wish that there was a little bit more. But then we get to the backups. I'll just give a quick shout out to this, though. Jorge drew this after Ross Andrew, who drew the original crossover. And I have that behind me, too, but you guys don't care about that, do you? Seeing the original crossover from 40 years ago? I don't know. Thank you, Sync Shadow. I wonder who they might save from the Ultimate Universe to bring over to the main continuity. I get the feeling it's going to happen. I would say, if anyone, some of the Ultimate X-Men characters would make the most sense. But we'll see. And then we get show the original. Okay, hold on 2 seconds. Hold on. Where is it? There it is. There it is. Here's the original crossover. It's almost too big for me to easily fit on frame because of the scale. It's really big. And by the way, I'm considering selling all these comics to help pay for my bills. Like, it's all up for grabs. But I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. So this is the back of the original that Ross Andrew drew. And Jorge drew them on opposite sides, but in the same pose. Wait, yeah. No, they're the same sides. What am I talking about? I don't know. Just in his own style. But look, this was all one story. Dr. Octopus and Lex Luthor. This was a blast to see at the time. And it's a big story. Look, it was like 90 pages. It was like 90 pages with an epilogue and a back matter page even showing Ross Andrew sketching out what the cover would be. Isn't that amazing? Actually, Carmine Infantino did some of these early sketches, and then Ross Andrew and Dick Giordano finished it. But it's cool. It does. Now, this one, I would say, comes up with a little bit of a phony baloney type story to weaken Superman and make it so that like they're almost equal. And it has them do the traditional superhero thing of battling each other over a misunderstanding before teaming up against the bigger villain. But it is fun. And I think that this new one is fun, but it's too short. It's like, make us think that this is something special. And that doesn't mean just charging $8.99 versus this was $2 back in the day. 40 years, it goes from $2 to $9. And this is bigger. This is a lot bigger. Not just physically, it's more pages. Anyway, great Ross Andrew art. Super underrated Spider-Man artist. Super underrated. He's really good. I like the art. I like the story. I like it enough that I wish it was longer. Then we get into very much hit and miss backup short stories. First, we get supposedly, well, not supposedly, it is. It's Mary Jane and Lois Lane. It's drawn by Jim Lee. It doesn't amount to much. If you're a big fan of Jim Lee's art, maybe that will sell you on it. The story is pretty much nothing. You get a double splash page of Gambit, a character that he worked on a lot in the early days. It didn't do anything for me. There's this one that a lot of people liked, but I didn't. I wanted to. It's written by Christopher Priest. Great art by Daniel Sampare. It involves Superboy Prime and the black suit version of Spider-Man. And it's very meta. Like, it's got Superboy Prime punching through panels into other worlds, but it didn't connect with me very much. I wish it did. I loved the ideas on Sean Murphy's comic, where he has Spider-Man 2099 and Superboy, like the Superboy who goes to the future and meets like Legion of Superheroes and stuff, meeting up. And they even meet up with Batman Beyond. Cool. But it's 5 pages. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's just a premise. It's not a story. It's a premise. Jimmy and Carnage is good. Jimmy Olsen meeting Carnage is good, but I won't spoil it. This is a sweet story by Jeff Lemire and Rafa Sandoval, where Pa Kent and Uncle Ben met when they were young men. And you find out that they've got some stuff in common. It's nice. It's not groundbreaking, but it's nice. Bias by Greg Rucka and Nicola Scott. is just a debate thing with Lois Lane, J. Jonah Jameson, and then the mediator is actually who's the creeper? The creeper is Jack Ryder, but nobody knows that anyway. It's okay. It's a good idea again, but it's not got enough space to really have a meaningful, big philosophical debate. It's too short for me. But finally, we get what I would argue is easily the best backup story, which I didn't expect at all. It's written by Gail Simone, drawn by what's her name again? She just did Trinity. Sorry, I want to get the artist's name right. Belaine Ortega. Power Girl from the DC universe goes out for a blind date, and the doorman is Punisher working undercover to get some criminals that are there. And then Power Girl, is like, hey, Frank, no killing. But, they sort of have a team up. And they kind of flirt and get along. And you'd be like, these characters are so different. How can that work? I don't know how it works so well, other than the charm that Gail and Belaine imbue these characters with. It works great. It works great. It's funny and charming. It's short, but it works very well as a short story. And here's the thing, like, why those characters, right? Well, Gail Simone explained today in a post on social media. She's like, why did I do this? She's like, that was Marie Javin's idea. Because, you'd think you could easily instead team up Punisher with Huntress or something like that, right? They're both characters that were co-created by writer Jerry Conway, who also, of course, worked famously on the Spider-Man of this era. But, yeah, Jerry Conway co-created Punisher and Power Girl. So that's what it is. They just decided to put two of his characters together and see how they bounced off each other. Works quite well. So the main story is probably the best, and then the Power Girl Punisher story works quite well. The rest of it is just sort of okay. I would say that of the crossovers that we've gotten from last year into this year, the best one was DC's Batman Deadpool crossover by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. I would say that's the best. So use that as your barometer. This is probably like right in the middle of the three crossover books. I just don't think that having the backup stories is that additive to the whole experience. I would say give us this many pages of one big story, and I think that gives it more room to breathe and carry more emotional weight. That would probably be my overall argument. And if you want to do the other things, cool, but maybe do something like, 4 of them to an issue, something like give it a little more space for even that. The next crossover is flipping this. It's Spider-Man Superman published by Marvel. I'm trying to remember who's the main writer artist on that. I think it's Dan Slott, and who's the artist? It's eluding me right now. So, yeah, I think that the Marvel one is doing something with Silk. They're doing something with who else? They're doing a bunch of interest. Is it Brad Meltzer? Oh, I thought it was Dan Slott, but maybe it's Brad Meltzer and Pepe Larraz. I don't know where you go for a sequel with it, but it was funny. Yeah, actually, and I'll just point out, I blew past it because I didn't want to spoil the sort of big jokes within it, but the Jimmy and Carnage story is actually pretty darn good too, especially if you liked Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber's Jimmy Olsen Maxi series. It's very in tone with that. Very, very cool. Marvel is bringing in a bunch of talent. I don't remember it all right now, but anyway. As far as a review on this one, I'd still probably only ultimately give it something like 1.5 out of 3 thumbs. And again, my review scale is not thumbs up or thumbs down. It's just on a scale of 0 to 3 thumbs. Something like 1.5 to... This was an interesting issue of Skinbreaker, second to last, Kirkman and Finch. I'm not going to recap the plot at this point because we're almost at the end. So you're probably either reading it or you're not, or you're trying to decide if you might get it as like a trade paperback. And I'll say that it probably is worth picking up if you haven't yet. I think it is. I think the art is some of Finch's most detailed and elaborate and honestly well-composed and evocative art yet. It's really good. I'll also say, and I talked with Dave from West Coast Avengers about this, we were both kind of confused with the storytelling in the last few pages. The last few pages here, we both were like, wait, what exactly happened there? It's so funny because I felt like the storytelling was great in the first 6 issues, and most of this is all sort of an action scene. And then in the last 3 pages, we were both talking, going like, hey, did you happen to have any trouble reading like anything in Skinbreaker? That was like, Dave was keeping it vague. He was like, did you read it yet? I was like, I read it. He's like, did you have any like trouble understanding any of it? I go, I did actually, just like the last 3 pages. He goes, yes, that's what I had trouble with. And so like we were both like, oh yeah, that's interesting. It just a little confusing. Maybe it'll read better once it's all in a trade and that doesn't become like a chapter break and you get like a few more pages of what happens right after this. As it stands, I was a little confused by it. So I was surprised. It's good art. It's very action-packed at this point. And I would say I'd give this 2 out of 3 thumbs. I'd give it 2 out of 3 thumbs. That's interesting that, yeah, thank you. I'm glad that I'm not the only one thinking this. Had to go over it a couple times. Fair. Fair. It is interesting seeing the oversized versions of the issues on store shelves. I think that's a fun bit of a gimmick. I do. I like that. Some of it is that he's always working, and when it seems like he's only got a few things coming out, he's still balancing 2 or 3 things at a time, and he gets ahead of the game. They've been working on this one for a very long time. I've got an interview on the Comic Tropes channel just specifically with Kirkman about Skinbreaker, nothing else. It's only about like 30 minutes or so. Yes. Anyway, and he talks about like how he and Finch have been working on this for almost a decade. I wouldn't say unused, but he's always got ideas, which I think just about every writer should have. Like they should have backup ideas and not just go like, I've got to make this one, I've got to make this one, I've got to make this one. Just have ideas that you care about, different levels of development. And when you find the right collaborator, you're like, oh, this artist really wants to do a crime book. This artist really wants to do a sci-fi book. This artist, you know, likes traditional superhero stuff. And hopefully you've got an idea in the tank that you could propose to them and go like, what if we collaborated on this? A lot of people have. And what I've got, folks, well, I'll explain it later. But thank you. I appreciate the support. I appreciate it. Yep, they finished it before it came out. I'm sort of on the same level of enjoyment with this issue of Absolute Wonder Woman, as in, I think that these creators are delivering a top-tier book month in, month out. I have become a really big fan of Hayden Sherman's art style. I just love it. It's very clean. Maybe that's a word that gets thrown around a fair amount with describing comics art. It becomes tricky to think of new adjectives and adverbs to describe artwork. But they have a really strong style. There can be depth. You know, even just this scene here, where we've got Zatanna helping heal Wonder Woman. There's a depth to that, where the posing gives us just a little bit of foreshortening with the arm and the leg here. And I like it. I like a lot of this. That said, this particular issue felt slower than the others within this story arc, which is basically Wonder Woman going up against a team of supervillains, or what they call a Suicide Squad. And it's good. It's just a little slower than some of the others. at the same time, you have to expect a little of that in any story arc. There's going to be a series of rises and falls, and you just sort of hope that the tension can keep ratcheting up, and as it goes on, when you get to the action sequences, they're either more, bombastic or more emotionally engaging as you continue. And I'd say this means to have like emotional stakes with like Zatanna's past and basically her father. I wouldn't say I connect to that as much because Wonder Woman is the main character, and we haven't known Zatanna enough to really care 100% about those stakes. So while it's meant to be ratcheting up, it's not about the main character enough. It's not bad. It isn't bad. It's still a fun, cool comic. It just didn't quite ratchet up the tension for a story arc the way I'd ideally hope for. I'd still give it between 1.5 to 2 out of 3 thumbs. It's really good. It's just very, very unique, very strong line art, very good composition, very consistent character design, and a really pretty gentle way of showing characters, but also sort of honest, not cliche, not like overly beautified, but not uglied up either. It's really cool. Boy, that does make me feel a little better. It gives a little relief because, folks, it's really hard when half of your house is completely uninhabitable, whereas, like, just over a week ago, it was where you lived. Let me move on to one that was a real pleasant surprise for me. Okay. I decided to try The Flash, who I haven't really read in a very long time. The Flash is fine. I like Flash. But I wouldn't say that I'm a massive fan of the character. I follow it when there's a good story arc, but that's about it. But I decided, you know what? I haven't read The Flash in quite a while. I'll pick up issue 31 here because it's a new creative team, so it's resetting the story. And I like the creative team. Ryan North is writing, who has been writing a book I very much enjoy, Fantastic Four, for several years. And the artist is Gavin Guidry, who I really think is probably not 100% fair to still call him an up-and-comer because he's had a few solid years now. But comics also has this way of, going like, wow, this person came from nowhere. And you're like, no, they've been solidly plucking away for like 10 years. But anyway, Gavin Guidry on art, Ryan North writing. I like both those people. I'll give Flash a shot. And you know what? I liked it more than I hoped I would like it. I liked it quite a bit. I didn't know certain things because I haven't been reading Flash in forever. This is Wally West, not Barry Allen. So it's like the guy that used to be Kid Flash, but is Flash. And I knew that he was like, in a serious relationship with Linda Park. But I guess now he's married and has kids. I didn't know that like that much had happened. But whatever, I don't care. They set all that up. They use his powers in clever ways, like him not using his flash aura on a frozen meal and trying to heat it up with friction, which, of course, results in half of it burnt and half of it still cold. It's funny and charming and a unique use of powers. I think Gavin is good with the character expressions. It's consistent. It's strong. It can be very dynamic when it comes to the action scenes. But what I really like is that Ryan North finds new ways to tell a story with characters. And in some ways, Flash is very similar to the Fantastic Four in that he really does have very science fiction-y powers. That if you pause and think about it, they don't make sense. So you have to create some new rules. Because if you could run this fast, well, first of all, like physics doesn't allow it to go, right? It couldn't go that fast. You'd burn up. You would burn up from the friction. So Mark Waid really helped create this great conceit, the Speed Force. It gives you this protective aura. It allows you to perceive time in a different way. It's a great sort of catch-all that just allows you to focus on the fun idea of what if you could go fast. It kind of eliminates having to explain all the discrepancies that would happen from like if you grabbed someone, you'd break their neck, right? It just doesn't. He avoids making sonic booms because Speed Force. And I'm fine with that. They're just saying that it's this like other dimensional force that allows him to access these abilities. I'm fine with that. If you move fast enough, you couldn't perceive sound or visual stimuli the same way. You'd be going too fast. It wouldn't work. Air itself would go into you. It actually explains this. He says, if you didn't have the Speed Force, it would be coming through me and being turned into different types of radiation, which would be bad for me and the planet. But Speed Force. He's not a scientist. So, but he's like, this is how my powers work. It's great. It sets it all up. But here's the issue. He saves somebody from falling off a building. That's fair. She asks for a selfie. He's a nice guy and he allows it. But then, just a little while later, another guy is falling off a building or jumping off. And he eventually finds out that it's a social media thing where people are in his city are being told, do something dangerous. The Flash is going to save you because he always saves all of us. And if you record it, whoever does the best video gets $10,000. So the Flash is having to run around because people are being dumb. And I go, I could believe that story enough that people for $10,000 or something would do stupid things. And it would be a waste of Flash's time to a degree, but of course he'd have to save them. It's an interesting conundrum to give him. It's an interesting conundrum to give him, to take up all his time saving people that shouldn't need to be saved. So anyway, it's an interesting sort of plan by some sort of mystery adversary that they're setting up, and I liked it. I like when you can take the Flash and say, he's got all these powers. How do you still turn that into a challenge, but still make his powers fun and cool? So, yeah, the one that he takes the selfie with, she goes, say Grodd. And he goes, I will not. I like the dialogue in this quite a bit. I could believe it. I could feel it. It was really, really fun. I thought I would just pick up the first issue, go, yeah, it's got some good ideas. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. I think I'm going to have to stick with it for another issue because I liked it so much. Damn it. I'm trying to get less comics, not more. But I really liked it. I really did. And I'm not the biggest fan of The Flash, but it was such a good entry point. Yeah, it works for me. This is like a 2.5 out of 3 thumbs. Issue 21 of Feral, right? And what it does is it pays homage to the famous issue 21 of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe, back in 1985, I think it must have been. No, it could have been 86 by then. Anyway, it's either 85 or 86. Larry Hama was the writer, and they were running late for issue 21. And he realized the only way he was going to get it to still hit its deadline was to cut some stuff out. So he decided he would draw it as well as write it, and he would cut out the dialogue. So he famously made the silent issue. It's all ninja stuff, and it reveals some interesting things about Snake Eyes. It became very famous because it's so cool and different. So for issue 21 of Feral, they have also decided to go silent, but they also have a story reason for that. It's all told from the perspective of a character we've had for quite a while now, Ghost, who is a deaf cat. And at first you're like, what's this? He's in a cage and he's looking at a human snapping, but it takes you a while to realize that it's snapping. He's not responding to the oral stimulation. So it's just a really cool excuse to tell a very different type of story with actions happening and have stuff from one cat's perspective. And we're getting some information, but not all of the information. It's very clever. Very, very clever. Speaking of the art, someone mentioned this. There's actually 2 different art styles that it's switching back and forth here. So when we see the animals, they're drawn in an animated style because there are protagonists, they're able to communicate, and it becomes like a Disney animated film. But when you see the people, they're actually drawn more realistically. And it becomes a little more objective, the story. So we've every once in a while we've had like hints of that with different human characters that will briefly come in and out of the story. I like that. I like that quite a bit. Anyway, it's just Ghost trying to understand what's going on because the CDC have captured all the main characters and are going to do tests on them because this is a world where there's like this super rabies out there. Best part of this, folks. And it's so unexpected, but I'll just tell you because it doesn't affect the story. Technically a spoiler, but I think it's the kind of spoiler where knowing this would either interest you in the book or it won't mean anything. Or you already know it. So I don't think it's really ruining the story, okay? The last page of the story does have some dialogue. It's like a surprise. And we recognize these characters if we've read Tony Fleek's and Trish Forstner's books before. These are the characters from a previous comic they did called Stray Dogs. Surprise, it all takes place in the same world. We never knew that before. Stray Dogs was a very different kind of a story from what Feral is. It's a really cool murder mystery story. Feral is a survival story. But yeah, they all take place in the same world. They're crossing over. I can't wait to see what they do with that by issue 22. There's not necessarily a hint as to what that means, but it's kind of fun that they took this previous, compared to Feral, shorter story, and they're rolling it into this bigger world. Very clever issue. I love that, issue 21 shouldn't necessarily mean anything, but they found a way to pay homage to G.I. Joe of all things, and Larry Hama, really, and tell a character-based story from the perspective of a deaf cat. Very, very cool. I'm not showing you all of Ghost's adventure in this. That's the real story of this. It's great. I'd give this one 3 thumbs. I'd give this one 3 thumbs. So that's my pick for the week, by the way. This is my pick for book of the week. Feral does something unexpected with both the character and the plot in a very organic, natural way. Feral is so good. One of my favorite books. Oh, 3 thumbs and a tail. Maybe it gets the first review beyond 3 thumbs. It gets 3 thumbs and a tail. I'll give it that. Just some quick reviews for the rest of it because I don't have as much to say about it. But Psy Dimensional Rivals continues the experimental and fun nature of this multiversal story that Peach Momoko has set up by curating different artists and letting them play with a character, basically Psylocke, crossover into different worlds. Beautiful, beautiful art by a wide variety of different artists thus far in crazy different styles. It's so cool. It's so cool. There's some Elena Casagrande. There's some Bengal, some Mike Del Mundo. Bengals is really charming, actually, and really freaky and surreal. I felt like when I was reading Bengal's story in this, that I could feel or I could hear water dripping in a cave's pool. Like that echoey, bloop, bloop, bloop. That's what I felt like I heard in this. I felt like I heard that. I really, really enjoy it. It's experimental and fun, and you don't need to know anything about these characters. Just all sorts of really interesting art styles, just doing whatever they feel like, but it all fits together. I think Peach has curated a really interesting team. And of course, I'm pretty darn excited for next issue because my friend Jim Mafood is drawing a story in it, and I'm always excited for that. It's a great book. It really is cool. Yeah. This is one that I could either talk for hours about, or I could just briefly say, I like it. It's experimental. and you decide if that's for you or not. But it is cool. I'm dropping pull quotes. This is another one by Ryan North. And one thing I like about this is he has created a truly terrifying villain by giving us a version of Sue Storm from a universe where things went very bad and she felt guilty about it. So she burned out the part of her own brain that feels like regret and pain and stuff like that, which unfortunately has the added effect of making her even more dangerous and unstoppable. So yeah, look at this. She's gone into like this world and is slowly making the good Sue Storm's head invisible and stuff because and Sue doesn't necessarily sense this. She's planning to burn out this Sue's, part of the brain that feels any sort of guilt, just as an experiment more than anything else. Because why not if you don't feel bad about anything? Thank goodness. Hey, and you know what? I won because I just got $2. Thank you, Steve. Congrats on your Mets win. Who was the artist? I think that the last artist I was looking at there was Mike Del Mundo. Pretty sure. Let's double check. Yeah, this one's by Mike Del Mundo. He's really good. If you like Mike Del Mundo, or you think you'd like Mike Del Mundo, check out 3 Worlds, 3 Moons, or 3W3M, okay? Mike Del Mundo helped create this sci-fi universe, creator-owned. You might like that if you like Mike Del Mundo. Anyway, look, I'll just keep it brief. Fantastic Four has created a really memorable and legit intimidating villain. A Sue Storm that doesn't worry or feel bad about killing people is ridiculously powerful. And she may actually be more powerful than regular Sue Storm. There's sort of hints that her powers are more advanced, but it uses her powers in new ways that still make sense scientifically. This Major League Baseball season home run 420 feet. Oh, yeah, that's true. Right. If we get a home run of 420 feet, there's a free Baja Blast promotion. Oh, thanks for the support. Hopefully it's not too late. It's not too late because trust me, I'm doing some more stuff moving forward. In the immediate term, Chrissy and I have to find a way to front this money for a lot of repairs because insurance is not covering nearly enough for what we have to do. We're going to have to take out all sorts of weird loans that have terrible interest rates right now. I'll explain some later. So even if we make money later, it's paying back like what we're having to front. And we're putting ourselves in a really bad position, but we have to. It's really tough. We're like, should we sell the house? But we really would like to keep our house. Thank you for the support. It means a lot. This one also gets a strong recommend from me, folks. Brutal Dark is by Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips. And the way I would describe this is a noir detective story that would star somebody like Humphrey Bogart mixed with Indiana Jones, archaeology, and Nazi type stuff. It's just got a really clever detective who at one point had studied to be an archaeologist, and he's getting drawn into a couple mysteries that seem to converge, seem to involve Nazis getting a supernatural artifact, but he's investigating missing people and working look at those shadows. I mean, that is definitely a very noir interpretation. It's just that sometimes it gets action-packed and the villains are pulpy. You would think that those two things, like a very serious sort of noir story and a very pulpy action adventure, might not merge, but for some reason, I think it merges very well in this, and I love it. I love it. Brutal Dark is really cool. Remember the truth. I do know that. And I feel that. I appreciate it. Even if you're not like in a position to donate like $1 or something, but you've said a kind comment or shared my campaign on social media, that means a lot to my wife and I. A lot. And the last book I got, you know, I feel like I was a little rough on Robert with Void Rivals, just trying to be honest. But issue 5 of Capes reminded me why I love him a lot. I mean, I guess I actually said that I liked Skinbreaker quite a bit too. I can't hear him from here. We've got the door closed. Apparently, the only good thing, folks, about our downstairs being completely gutted, you know, just being concrete floors, no furniture, no objects to absorb the sound. Jack, who I think a bunch of you know, is my very talkative cat. He really loves going down into the basement and literally just listening to his own voice echo. It should be annoying, but we both think it's pretty funny. Jack just goes, meow. Meow, meow, meow. He thinks it's hilarious. Anyway, Capes, let me just say real quick, Capes is so damned funny this time. This is the superheroes that punch a clock going up against a supervillain called Chronodial, which I love that name. And there are some total goofball superheroes mixed in with some of our main characters. And it's kind of funny how easily some of them get taken out. But what's also funny is, okay, so there's this old guy here, right? And he and his friend each got exposed to a meteor. And as long as they were close to each other, they each had superpowers. Now, they drove each other nuts because they lived out like their whole lives being next to each other. But one of them died in battle. And now this guy really does miss his friend. You know, it was an adversarial relationship, but he kind of loved him. Anyway, his ashes get spilled here. And when he touches them, he realizes that he's gaining the full powers that like either one of them should have had. It's like even more than like when it was just two of them close together. And he's like, wait, how would I he eats his friend's ashes to power up into Meteor Master. I know that's ridiculous, but this is a really funny, ridiculous comic. You either find that funny or you find that offensive and you're like, no, how can you enjoy this? I think that's hilarious. This guy did love his friend, but he decides to eat his friend's ashes to power up and have a chance against the Chronodial. A really cool cover here for Invincible Month by Mark Englert, getting to draw a bunch of the Invincible characters. I love it. I love it. Love the show. I wish I could contribute more. Hey, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful. It all comes together and it means a lot to me. I think the idea is sort of like once he just physically touches it, it absorbs and now he's got his powers. It sort of transforms him. Maybe he doesn't even need to go to the bathroom anymore, just to be honest. Anyway, good question. Technically, this is a reprint. Now, issues 1 through either 3 or 4, I guess I forget right now. Issues 1 through 3 or 4 were a comic that came out back when Invincible was running. I think it was 1 through 3. And then issues 4 and 5 were actually short stories that were published in the back of Invincible originally. So this is their first time being collected into like sort of a full issue. Actually, the more I think about it, I think Capes was a 4-issue series. So this is issue 5. This is the first time these backups are being turned into like one full comic. And then next issue will sort of complete the storyline with Chronodial that were done from backups in Invincible. And then issue 7, Mark Englert, still artist, Benito Cereno is going to take over writing, and they're going to tell new stories with the characters of Capes. All new. So that's kind of exciting. So 1 through 6 have been seen before, but it was 1 through 4 that were dedicated Capes issues. Issues 5 and 6 of this were reprinted from backup stories. So it's all like one continuity, but it's being, sort of collected and redone. Let's see. Don't artists try to avoid covering the title with characters in the foreground? It depends. If there's a good reason for it, they might allow it. I would say that it's not a good idea to do consistently, but when you're dealing with variant covers and stuff, it's less of a concern because people know what they're ordering or what they're getting. So yeah, it was probably a decision just because they're like, hey, we're this is a variant cover. I think the main cover is by Ryan Ottley, if I remember right. And this is a variant you could order. I'm going to draw a little. I sketched out a little something. I sketched out the characters from Supernatural. I really like that show. I didn't finish it yet, but I liked it. What else was I going to talk about at this point? Because I don't read the banner while I'm talking to you. Let's think here. Let me move some paper under me. I guess I could start by just sort of giving you an update real quick on the flood damage and the impact to me and what steps I'm taking to address it. Then I could talk about just some movies and TV stuff while I draw, answer some of your questions, talk about what's coming up with Comic Tropes. So, flood-wise, I decided today to launch a GoFundMe. Because even if Chrissy and I can get a loan of some kind to pay for the repairs, it's still going to put us in some pretty bad debt because I don't know if anybody's looked. Interest rates are terrible right now, okay? They're just bad. And they're not going to get good anytime soon, probably. But that's just what it is. We're probably going to have to do something like get a home equity line of credit. But that's going to cost us quite a bit in its own way. It's money we don't have. So a lot of viewers, a lot of family members, and a lot of friends said, this is the kind of thing when you're set back this bad, this much, that people do GoFundMes. I don't want to turn my problems into somebody else's problems, but I do support other people's GoFundMes all the time, and I get it. Sometimes people have a little bit of bad luck, and it's like more than they can sort of deal with on their own easily. And that really is Chrissy and I right now. We're having a tough time. We've had, honestly, I won't get into all of it, but we've had an extended series of bad times for the last maybe year and a half. Okay, I think you guys sort of know. At least, for instance, Chrissy's got some health issues, and that's expensive. And we have to pay for our own private health insurance, and it costs us a fortune. So it just means that we weren't in a good place for an emergency like this. We do have a sump pump, and honestly, that's specifically what's happened here. Is the sump pump died, because they do sometimes. Unfortunately, during a time when the water here has been the most saturated it's ever been, so lots of groundwater, and it flooded the entire level. And it just is what it is. It is what it is. I can live with losing the stuff. I lost a lot of stuff. I lost a lot of comics. Chrissy lost some musical instruments. We lost furniture and other things. But things are things. We've already spent that money. It's a sunk cost, and you go on. You don't need things. It's sad, but you don't need them, right? What's tough is this is our home. This is where I had an area to edit my show, which I used for income. This is where I could play a video game or watch a show. There's no, I don't have that right now. I don't have like a game console or anything. We've got a guest room where we've let our nephew live. Not right now, but we have, and we might again sometime. Or even if family wanted to visit. We had a second bathroom, which we use. We have a laundry room. We have a heating and air conditioning area and closet space. I would say the Donatellos do seem to be okay. And honestly, I'm just putting it out there. If somebody wanted to buy an entire collection that I would comfortably say is 90% of any Donatello figure ever made, I would love to sell the entire collection for any reasonable offer. I've also got tons of Lego that I've put up. I've canceled our streaming services. We're looking to sell another vehicle. We're doing everything we can to cut our expenses and sell what we can. And we're fine with what we lost. But the costs are just really, really high. So Peach and Yo reached out, and she said she was willing to draw something, hold an auction, and donate the funds. And I said, let me think about that. And I took like a day and a half, and I reached out and I said, you know what? I'm not in a position to say no to an act of generosity like that. I love Peach and Yo for this, and they've been so kind to us before. When Chrissy had her huge health issue in Japan, even though Peach and Yo do not live in Tokyo, they would live, definitely a bit of a ride from there. Yo offered to come to the hospital and translate for us. And fortunately, I said, I think we don't need that, but he was willing to do that for me. And now they're going to do an auction for some original piece of art. And I said, I'm grateful. That means a lot to me. I feel guilty accepting this help, but we need it. We need it. And it's important to keep a roof over our heads. Anyway, and another thing I'm going to do, and I don't know the full details on exactly how we're going to do it yet, but I talked to Nick Barucci at Dynamite Comics, and we're going to do a claim sale together. So we'll sell some comics and some of his original art. Maybe I'll sell some of my stuff too, if we can figure out an easy way to do that. But anyway, I'm going to probably host one of their claim sales on my main channel because I need the help. And yeah, so some of that will come to our repair fund. I started this GoFundMe, and I put it on what's called a ratcheting thing. I asked for what I would consider, hopefully, a modest amount. But we need a lot more help than what I put down there. But if people are in a position and it adds up, the goal does increase to a certain amount. The amount of damage and the amount it costs to repair and rebuild some of this stuff, as well as what we've already spent on various pros, is a lot more than I would have ever guessed possible. A lot more. But it is what it is. That's why we're asking for help. So the goal on the GoFundMe, just so you know, could ratchet up as I sort of hit certain milestones. I think what we could use would be at least 40,000 of help, but we'll see. We'll see. I'd take $10 and be grateful. The idea, I think, is this. My grandfather used to have this really nice phrase that has always stuck with me. Many hands make light work. As in, when you look at a whole community and none of us are doing great these days, right? But, you're like, you know what? I've got $5. I've got $20. I've got $100. Different situations. Well, it does all help. It does all add up quite a bit. And, I've supported a lot of GoFundMes for friends that have had strokes, cancer, and home damage before. So I was like, maybe this does make sense. Anyway, if they find it obnoxious or something, please know I'm not trying to guilt or beg anyone to do anything they're not comfortable with. I am here to create a show. I am here to create a show, and that brings me plenty of pleasure. If you wanted to help, but you feel that you can't, I don't judge you at all. Don't worry about it. Like, nobody is here trying to compete to do something the best. I appreciate you just being here and watching. I appreciate the kind words and shares. So I just hope that much is clear. So if you're interested, I will have a few more ways to support us coming, where hopefully you can get something out of it, like some original art or a comic or something like that, or just support the Patreon. That's probably what ultimately got us towards this place, was just how much we have to pay for healthcare right now, as well as like some bills and stuff towards that stuff. It just this situation wasn't just that we had a flood. We had homeowners insurance, but we had a very unique thing where the coverage is capped at $10,000, and that sounds like a lot, but it really isn't when you've got this much damage. It's a massive amount of damage from the water. I'm grateful that we have some coverage. Anyway, what else though? Let's talk about something more important. It's just that plenty of people were interested in that, and I said that I would try to be transparent with the situation and why the show was kind of delayed and why I'm doing a show here with, in my opinion, kind of a messy background. It's a lot of stuff that needs to be jammed into a small amount of space. We've got less than half of the house space that we used to have. It is what it is. I have enjoyed, to a large extent, going to work these days because it's a little bit of a break from everything. And I've also allowed myself to still go out to the movies. I went and saw a pretty cool one, in my opinion, called They Will Kill You with Zazie Beetz, I think it's pronounced. It's not a perfect movie at all, but it is a fun movie if you like sort of weird horror action with gonzo violence, which I do. I'm weird that way. It's pretty fun. I would say that it's kind of the movie that Ready or Not 2 wanted to be. I enjoy talking to you guys. So thank you for listening. Call Manscaped. I would do a Manscaped ad if they came asking. So, what else though? What else? Is there anything else I watched lately? Haven't watched a lot because we have been pretty busy. But I feel like I watched something else. I don't know. It's not coming to me. It definitely wasn't any other movies. Although Jim and I are talking, and we're probably going to do a trash movie bonanza. Not probably. We are. We just need to find the time. We're going to do a trash movie bonanza about a specific Chuck Norris movie now that he's passed. I would not call myself a Chuck Norris fan, but there is a movie that we've got a bunch to talk about. So that should be fun. I saw the first episode. Is the second episode out yet? I think that's tomorrow, right? I like the first episode all right. I'm hopeful that this is going in an interesting direction. Thank you. If you're watching Daredevil, Matthew Lillard is on the show. And he seems to be playing a CIA guy, just somebody from the government that's sort of like, hey, Kingpin, we kind of know what you're up to. And just so you know, like, we'll let you go a certain distance, but not too far. And it made me wonder if he could be somebody from the comics or an original character for the show. And I think the most likely thing is he's original for the show. But I'd love it if he played somebody from the comics and he's got a reason to work under an alias. The one I'd love the most, and I don't think it's going to happen, just to be clear, but I would love it, is there is a great recurring character in Marvel Comics that were a government liaison who mostly gives the Avengers a hard time, Henry Peter Gyrich. If he played that would be so cool. I think the way they've got the MCU set up right now, Valentina is in charge of if not SHIELD, then like the CIA or something, right? And she's not good. I'd love it if Gyrich was reporting to her. I think that would be such a useful character Guy Ritchie to use in moving forward, like, Avengers movies and X-Men movies and stuff like that. Yeah, the character doesn't have a buzz cut, which is why I think it probably isn't him, to be honest. He's just called Mr. Charles, right? But it would be cool. It would be a great character to have as sort of like a recurring nuisance for a lot of superheroes. It would be a really good fit. Hey, Owen, always love seeing you, buddy. Just wanted to stop by and send you some love. I appreciate it, man. You're the best. You're the best. I'm trying to remember what your latest episode was, but he did do a really cool interview with Gavin Guidry and Ryan North. I was just talking to you guys about how much I was pleasantly surprised with Flash. Well, Owen had them on the channel, but you did another one recently, and I'm forgetting right now what it is. I'm sorry. No, he was never really in a good movie. He was interesting in some schlock, but that's about it. That's about it. But I like schlock for what it is sometimes, Schlock has its place in my world. There's no question. There's a bunch of good, bad movies that Jim and I want to cover on Trash Movie Bonanza. Whoa! Is UYU, would that be Uruguayan currency? Don't feel guilty, man. That's the reality of being a genuine good person. You'll earn this love you're getting. The world is filled with shitty people. That's true. Being a light is not common. You deserve all the love you're getting. All I can say is I don't think you guys will ever find me in a scandal, but thank you. I really appreciate the support. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's really, really kind of you. Latest, right, static. Yeah. Good idea, too. And by the way, BJ Kicks has been doing interviews with all of the creators of the latest anthology book, The Dakota Incident, the DC history of the Dakota Incident, which has all the Milestone Comics characters. So BJ Kicks is another YouTuber. You might enjoy some interviews on that right now. Oh, wow. It's Tom Whalen, a graphic designer I really, really admire. He's done a lot of Godzilla stuff I love. I hope you know that, Tom. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the community you've built, and thanks for pressing on through trying times. Dude, doing a show and talking about comics to take like a moment out of my schedule to do this is a relief, and it's fun, and I like talking to you guys. Dude, it all means a lot to me. It all means a lot to me. Thank you. I hope I get to visit more places in the future. I'd visit Uruguay. I just talked to a really interesting customer at my job. She was from Bolivia, and she was telling me about like these different restaurants I should go to in her country, and it's always fun to hear. I love travel. Well, I don't love the actual physical act of travel. That's a headache. But I love visiting different places throughout the world. It means so much to me. It's my favorite thing to do. If I didn't do a show about comics, I would have tried to do one about travel. You're never hijacking the show. I love having you here. I love having all these different interesting people here. BJ has been doing amazing work. I've loved all his interviews with the Dakota Incident team. Highly recommend. Comics are dope. Yeah, BJ show. Yeah. Food tour. I've always wanted to be a more adventurous eater. That's the only thing. I will try new things when I travel. When I'm at home, I'm not 100% picky eater, but there's a lot of things that I don't enjoy that normal people enjoy. I don't like eggs by themselves. It's okay as an ingredient. I don't like mayonnaise. So I'm a weirdo. Needed to get my top spot back. You come at the king, better not miss. don't make it a contest. I love everybody here. Don't make it a contest, but I do appreciate the support a lot. It's really, really kind of you. Since you've canceled your streaming services, you should use your library services. Chrissy does have a library card. We should take advantage of that some more. And but the thing is, we noticed that we mostly watch YouTube anyway. I'll just I don't know which streaming services allow this and which ones don't, but a few friends have allowed me to access certain services so that I can keep up with certain shows. And they just were like, hey man, you can get on my service and cancel this. And I was like, okay, I'll take you up on that for now. And I'll just owe you, but thank you, friend. So just to be clear, I might still be talking about TV shows. Just know that we're not out here spending a fortune on various things that don't make sense anymore. But I won't say which ones so that I don't get myself or anybody else in trouble. Yeah, it hurts to think that there's no chance that I'll be doing any travel anytime soon, but that's okay. That's a small sacrifice in the greater scheme of things, in the grand scheme of things. That's not a necessity at all. It just isn't. What else is new? Is there anything else we watched? No, I guess not. I never watched that one. I did hear good things about Doom Patrol. It's kind of cool seeing that Speed Racer. Hold on, that was another comment I was about to address. I was going to say it's nice to see Brendan Fraser having such a nice resurgence. I did see the Speed Racer movie. I thought it was fun, but I didn't love it. You know who loved it is Robert Kirkman. So this re-release is all for him. Aw, sniping from the shadows with a Derringer. Mm-hmm. Aw, thanks. Hold on. What other shows? Let's see. Best superhero show is Daredevil or Spectacular Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man was the animated one, right? And that is nice. Jeannie, it's so funny. When things get bad, little things start feeling like they mean so much more. I had a coworker just give me a decent pen. He was just like, here, I got you a pen. It's not like a $50 pen or anything weird like that. I don't think it's even a $20 pen, but it's a nice pen. It's maybe a $10 pen or something. And it just, I don't know, it touched me. We've lost so many things, and I don't know, it just was nice to just be given something kind of nice, and just the vibe behind it was really nice. But yeah, my sister has always been a huge dog lover, and her dogs have all passed away because of age. It just happens. But the time, I guess, is right, and she has come across an Australian Shepherd that needed to be adopted, and she's getting a little guy named Bunker this Thursday. And yeah. I told you about it, Chrissy, but to be fair, Chrissy's been in a lot of pain and been a little distracted today, but I did tell you about it, sweetie. That's okay. I thought I might not have showed you the pictures, though. I might not have showed you the pictures. So sometimes a visual stimuli helps us with our memories. He's adorable. Happy to have a new member to the family. I have no idea when I'll be able to visit Massachusetts, but when I do, I'll be very excited to get to meet Bunker. Do you think you'll keep that name, or do you think you might rename him? Because I know you didn't get to come up with that. I'm an aspiring comic book writer. Any advice? Sure. I can't go into a whole lot right now, but I'll say this. Study story structure. I would recommend personally the monomyth. Study the monomyth. I would say study some screenwriting books, because they can help you very much with structure, and I think structure is incredibly important for comics. And just remember the Oscar Wilde quote, brevity is the soul of wit, because Your dialogue space is very limited in panels. So the faster you can give people both the context of a story and the context and content in a very efficient manner, that's really helpful. And then listen to how people talk in real life and how people at different intelligence levels and people with different educational and work backgrounds and cultural backgrounds talk and communicate so that your characters have authentic sounding dialogue. Good luck. Writing is, I love writing. I love writing. And I love the challenge of writing for comics where you have to try to lay out a story and at the same time tell us something about the character. You really have to be a little precious and very clever about combining doing more than one thing at a time, especially if you ever attempt doing like, a crime or a mystery type story where there's a reveal. You have to play honest and lay out contextual clues so that it all makes sense at the end. But not the easiest thing in the world to do, and I have all the respect in the world to the people out there who can do it well, like me. Oh, that's a cool piece of advice. Sure, there's a BBC Maestro series with Alan Moore all about writing. I can't recommend it enough for anyone wanting to write. I have no ambition of writing fiction, but even I found it inspiring. Alan Moore, the cool thing about Alan Moore is not just his ideas. I'll just say this. Ideas are worth less than a dime a dozen. Okay? Everybody thinks, I've got a great idea. I'm going to hire somebody to write it for me, or I've got a great idea. Everybody has ideas. Everybody has ideas. It's about actually getting it done, and it's about execution. The cool thing about Alan Moore, in my opinion, is how layered his writing is, how he can think so far ahead that he's got that structure. He's got details that are coming out in the plot or sometimes the art, including background art or subtle character expressions, and certainly dialogue, and that they'll mean something once you finish reading the story and you know what like the themes are. You can go back and you can find all these layered meanings in it, and it's really, really impressive how many layers Alan Moore works on. There's several writers that can work like that, and it doesn't all have to be like that. It doesn't all have to be serious and layered, but it's impressive to me when people can work like that and have it mean many things at once. Yeah, he's got a book writing for comics. There's a bunch of people that have written writing for comics specifically. Scott Snyder teaches a class, so you could always sign up for that. Both Grant Morrison and Alan Moore. I'll probably give the tiniest bit of an edge to Alan Moore as somebody that I personally enjoy a little bit more, but I enjoy Grant Morrison quite a bit, and really admire their work. But yeah, I taught some writing for comics classes when I lived in DC, and it was a good challenge to think about what to tell people about how to learn how to write well, like what kind of things to think about. And I would just say, like, what's the reason for the story before anything like cool, like, building a world or having like a cool action scene. You got to think, what's the real reason? And the real reason, in my opinion, should almost always be this character is this way, and only through these specific events will that character change, and we'll see that change, because that's what's interesting, is change and conflict, like the resistance to that change. That's what interests me. And so, you think of like somebody that, like, is a great person, and the only thing holding him back is, he's got daddy issues. He's got to please his father for some reason. But maybe through, like, this whole wild adventure, his dad's actually going to die, and his dad maybe was an asshole or something. So the audience doesn't feel bad, but that's the only thing that could have gotten that guy past that and finally allowed him to open up and live his own life. That's a pretty dark idea, I know, but I'm just saying that's the kind of conflict internal conflict you want to give a character. Like, and after that you say, like, what does the character want? Or really you should start with that. What does a character want? The character wants to be a cook, Okay, what would prevent him from being a cook other than, just like the normal stuff? Well, he's a rat, the thing that should least be in a kitchen. Okay, now you've got your conflict. Ratatouille. The thing that should least be in a kitchen wants to be a chef. Anyway. What else was I going to talk about tonight? Was there something else? Just upcoming comic trope stuff. I think I can have my new episode up tomorrow. I hope you guys, I think anybody watching here understands why it's taken longer, but probably a lot of my audience doesn't. My views for this month are atrocious on YouTube, but there's no getting around that. That's just what it is. But anyway, I'll have a new episode up, I'm pretty sure, at some point tomorrow, and we'll have a bunch more fun stuff coming. I've got tons of ideas for episodes that should engage people. I'm going to do a few that, like, they're always for me, but I can do a few that are also friendly to the algorithm. I'll do a few that are friendly to the algorithm in a row by just addressing popular characters or creators. And then after a little run of that, I can get back to a few more obscure things that make people go like, okay, this isn't just everything that I see everywhere else. Yeah, your protagonist always needs something. Someone else who also needs the same thing, and you got a story there. Needs the same thing or needs the opposite thing. There's a couple different ways you could set up a conflict. But you can also have the conflict against something other than people. It can be internal, it can be external, it can be nature, it can be people. There's a few different conflicts. What do you think of newer Dan Clowes stuff like Wilson? I rarely see any discussions about them. I've never been disappointed with Dan Clowes. I think he's frequently very, very... Yeah, you know what? Maybe an episode about specifically Dan Clowes could be interesting at some point. And I've always wanted to do an episode about Ghost World, because people know Ghost World to a degree, or they've heard of it, but there's stuff to talk about there. I think I am going to do a Spider-Man episode soon. I think I want to talk about something I don't think a whole lot of people have talked about, which is how Marvel came to decide to have him get married. Obviously, there's been... That was a long time ago now. But for me, it was in my formative Spider-Man years. And looking back, I feel like Marvel actually had to scramble to line some stuff up to make that happen for a variety of reasons. It ended up, I think, being the right decision, but they really did have to scramble to some degree to set things up. And it's kind of funny, some of the chaos behind the scenes with certain key individuals that was happening. So that could be fun. I did hear about Paul. And you know what? I'll just say, if I had a character that people just ultimately disliked as much as Paul, I'd cut my losses and say, you know what? This character is worth more to me dead than alive, right? There's no... so you've got options. You can turn him into a supervillain and let people hate him, or you can kill him off and get a little dramatic value out of it. You can say other characters cared about him, but if people hate that character, you gotta cut your losses at a certain point. You can't keep forcing a character nobody likes into your stories. Thank you. Have you done a video on how they decided to get them unmarried? Sort of, actually, yeah, because I did talk about, what was it called again? Like One More Day or whatever? The Mephisto deal. I have made an episode about that, yes. Newspaper, Spider-Man is a fever dream. There's an arc where JJJ buys an old Iron Man suit to get Spidey and makes the helmet invisible so everyone can see his mustache. Beowulf, thank you for telling me about that, because that is not ringing a bell, and I gotta look that up now. I gotta look that up. Yeah, but I think that Frost and Lynch liked James, so they didn't shit on him. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I can't wait to find that. I'm going to look that up. Did I talk about everything that I put in my topics here? Let me just take a quick look. Yeah, I guess I did. So what time is it? Yeah, it's been 3 hours. So that's a more than reasonable amount of time to do a show. If anybody's been watching the whole thing, that's kind of you. I'm glad that I could entertain you this long on some level. Thank you very much for the support. Just know that I am hard at work on working on several Comic Tropes episodes. My current goal, as soon as I finish this, well, I'm going to put in some chapter breaks, and then I'm going to wrap up my edit. I am very darned close to wrapping up an edit, and I should have a new episode to you in the morning. Is there anything else I needed to talk about? Oh, yeah, I'm going to do this new thing where I do a closing monologue. No, I'm kidding. I probably won't keep doing the opening monologue. That was more of an experiment for myself to see, could I make, like the day of, a joke about comic book news in a late night style? And I think the answer is sort of. It lands for a certain portion of the audience, but it doesn't connect on the same level that like the real world does. It's easier to make jokes about what's happening in the real world than about what's happening with comic books, but it's been fun to do that. Musical guest Chrissy and your host Randy Stone. Thanks for watching me doodle with the inks and chat about a whole bunch of nothing. I apologize that the background here is kind of messy looking compared to what you look at for the show. I got to figure that out, but I've got a very limited amount of space in my life right now. Anyway, next time, you know what? Remind me to do some impressions. I like your host, Chris Pierce. That's my who used to do the SNL intro. Was it Don Pardo? Might have been Don Pardo. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Appreciate the support, the jokes, the kind words, shares of the GoFundMe, as well as just supportive comments. You guys are amazing. I appreciate it, but I am going to take off. So here's the closing theme and credits for everybody. Keep reading comics. Double salute. You're the best.